tight with that one, folks. And of course, we are back as well, you can tell, given that we're on your screens again. That's how it works. And we, of course, have what is arguably our title bout of the night, Machi Esports versus Hong Kong Attitude. So, what do we reckon, boys?
Pretty tough one, actually. You know, I think Machi are favored, but I don't want to count Hong Kong Attitude out. I think the last result was, what, a 3-0 still? I want to believe that Hong Kong Attitude have come back in, but Machi are looking so good right now.
Yeah, Machi on your screens here. Always love their uniforms, man. The Lettermans look so slick. But in any case, yeah, this is going to be a really interesting one. And I think one of the big things about this, of course, Hong Kong Attitude, after suffering a loss to Machi and losing that 4th place spot, you know, Machi having a very meteoric rise as well. They were 3rd from bottom at one point. This is a match that Hong Kong Attitude would have prepped for so hard.
The thing is though, Machi are already one step ahead of Hong Kong Attitude, where their goal is to take that 3rd place spot away from Blank. Hong Kong Attitude right now, their first step is revenge, getting 4th place back, and then they can focus on starting to beat Blank. But right now, Hong Kong Attitude have the brick wall that is Machi in the way.
Yeah, well, this of course being Hong Kong Attitude on your screens right now, a team that had a very interesting kind of run. We feel a very solid team, had some very promising results against teams like AHQ and Flash Rules, even Blank as well, and then have kind of, but simply not improved as much as the other teams. It's not that they've fallen off, because they're not playing any worse, they're just not playing as well as the others. Here, of course, are the captains or coaches of both teams.
I would like to have a really good match and continue beating HKA. Oh, it's not over yet, so we're going to continue doing our best.
Kind of looks like he's about to go do a surgery. Like, that's why he's got the mask on. We are going to absolutely dissect Machi. Like, that's the game plan. Like, we're just going to cut them to bits. So.
Except he said just continue to do our best instead. So
yeah,
it's a little less confident than what Machi have been saying. But
we will try and save your life, but look, I'm sorry if we don't.
sorry if the scalpel slips a little bit.
Oh, ouch. So let's kind of go back to what we are maybe expecting out of this on the Machi side, because they have beaten Hong Kong Attitude. I kind of want to go into a little bit of how, so that we can kind of do a bit of background on what the baggage is coming into this matchup. So, like, what have Machi been doing right, not just against Hong Kong Attitude, but in general these last few weeks?
It was a long time ago that these two teams faced, even in the very last round. So the fact is, it was still a 3-0, but teams have had a fair amount of time since then. Hong Kong Attitude have continuously seemed to still shut out the bottom 3 teams, and no one below them right now has really seemed to be much of a challenge. So that's still as expected. The only team that has risen above them is, of course, Machi, who were, need I remind you, in 6th place, right? They rose above Fireball, and then they rose above Hong Kong Attitude. So right now, that's the only thing that Hong Kong Attitude have let slip. Machi have been on the rise, but I feel like their rise is starting to taper off a little bit right now. There's only so much that their improvement is starting to plateau a little bit.
Well, I mean, they got Kant and Nones together, which has been a pretty effective DPS duo. They also have Kiyomi on the team, which a lot of other teams and members from other teams have sort of stated, look, despite Machi not being one of the top 3 teams at the moment, one of their ANA player, Kiyomi, is considered to be one of the top ANA players of the tournament by many players within the top 3 themselves. So, I mean, they do have a couple of players within this team that are very well respected, like Kiyomi, and it's hard to say, but I know Kant is rather well respected as well. Maybe not on the level that Bacon Jack is, but as far as, you know, traces in this competition goes, especially if we look at purely from the Taiwanese side, you don't have any spectacular traces on AHQ. You have the one in Flashwall, so the only one left you go to is Machi, so Kant is kind of the next one in line.
There, of course, was the lineup of Machi, and we'll get our good old flyby of the players, get a little bit more info about their most picked. It's useful, I think. Helps contextualize, I feel, these matchups when we talk in terms of the compositions that these teams tend to run, because these last couple of weeks have been a bit of a tumultuous time for that, and I do feel like some teams have kind of hit a stride, whereas others haven't. I kind of want to jump onto something else, though, and we were talking about this a bit before the break, is this matchup's a really interesting one, because neither team can really afford to lose. Like, you can get away with it, you can maybe still gun for playoffs if you do lose this, but it's going to be very, very hard. You'll be doing it on numbers rather than because you actually beat other top 3 teams, right? So, I mean, if you're Machi here and you lose to Hong Kong Attitude, that's fantastic. I love those.
He's got 2. He had 1 before.
I love those.
And now he's
sugar
got
cubes.
2. Next week we're going to see 3.
They're multiplying. Eventually, they're just going to overrun the team. They're
going to replace the team.
Yeah, they're just going to be like these little plushes playing the game. But yeah, like if you're Machi and you do actually lose this, because we have to say they are a little bit favored coming into this, then if anything, all your results against Hong Kong Attitude before and even beating Flash Wolves, they kind of don't mean so much anymore.
It really affects their ability to break into top 3. If the storyline is Machi attempting to break top 3, a loss tonight right here in this match, I would say prevents that.
Well, here's, of course, Hong Kong Attitude. You can see on your screens Mango Jai, K4, Jin Kao, Ating, Xiaolin, and CQB. Running with CQB tonight. Wasn't actually on their lineup at the very top, I believe.
Yeah, he has always. This has been the same Hong Kong Attitude lineup since day number 1.
Well, okay.
The only other player, Randy, has still so far not been featured in any match. And I don't know, we're getting towards the end of the competition now. I don't know if Randy will be featured at all.
They're going to pull them out in playoffs like that 70s show. They just bring in
playoffs.
Randy
They got to
for
make
one.
playoffs to get there to actually do
If
that.
they get there, if they get renewed for a final season, that's when they bring out Randy.
Xiaolin, now this guy is a pretty impressive Tracer player right now. If you consider the placements of where his team is as a whole, it doesn't seem like he's a 5th place Tracer in the OPC right now. He's actually getting quite a lot of impressive results as well. So I think he's going to be a player to watch out for. If you also consider the fact that K4 is a little bit of a superstar on Hong Kong Attitude, Xiaolin's definitely up there with K4.
Yeah, and I don't know that Machi's Tracer players in general, whenever they've had people on Tracer, I don't really feel like any of them are quite on that level of Xiaolin. So that actually is something I think you're quite right. Hong Kong Attitude do very much have over the competition here.
Yeah, I think Kant is a bit of an up-and-comer in that regard, and people kind of regard him that way, but people do feel that Xiaolin's Tracer, and I do as well, has been one of the more standout players. And sort of the great thing for Hong Kong Attitude is they have 2 Genji players. K4 picks it up, Xiaolin also picks it up, so they have that sort of flexibility there, and both of them sort of perform reasonably well. Now, K4 is generally known as one of the best Genji players in the competition. That doesn't count for much, I would say, right now. Specifically, when you hear it from Zonda's own words, I mean, he's saying, look, Genji's not in a good place. I would agree with that. It's not in a good place, so K4's going to be sticking on the Soldier, maybe a McCree, and it does mean that Xiaolin sticks to the Tracer, which probably works out because his Tracer, like we've kind of said, like a lot of different people in the competition have also said, one of the more outstanding ones.
Yeah, it's interesting you sort of mentioned Kant there in sort of relative term there, because I mean, if Kant is an up-and-comer, right, Xiaolin's already there. He doesn't need to come up anymore. So I suppose one of the things we can really be looking out for in this match is going to be how much Kant has actually improved and whether he can take it to the level of Xiaolin. But certainly the onus is going to be on him and not Xiaolin.
And then, of course, the guys that we're forgetting on the front lines are all the tanks as well. The Winstons have been someone, the players that have been scrutinized a little bit by a lot of analysts and, well, I guess us as well.
Yeah.
But
we're a lot of analysts.
Yeah,
so really us.
Yeah, really us, I suppose. But it's quite a difficult thing to get in there, make sure you're going to be able to get out alive, because a lot of teams have been starting to turn around and just focus the Winstons as soon as they jump in. And Arting, DCR1, if you match them up together, right, I feel like DCR1 does come out just a little bit ahead, but using previous statistics, I don't think massively ahead right now. Arting has had issues in the past, specifically, I'd say more on his Reinhardt than his Winston, but still questions about the Winston. I feel like they've been a little bit more fixed in the last few weeks, even the last round.
Yeah, certainly. So, gentlemen, with that in mind, let's talk maps. It has come through. Going to be Oasis. We're going back to Oasis again. We saw Oasis a lot at the start of the tournament, and then just kind of stopped seeing it. So it's kind of nice to have it back.
See, it's sort of like a reasonable amount. We're now seeing it at about the same rate as we did when we first started. Maybe just a slight bit more, but it is. It's
nice.
kind of coming back, and I am trying to figure this out. If it's more so teams feeling like this is a pick for them, or teams trying to throw a curveball at the other team, maybe.
It's kind of hard to say, and I think the other thing there as well is, again, if we sort of contextualize this in terms of playoffs like we did before with Flash Wolves and Eichenwald, part of it might just be you don't want to suggest that there is a control map you can't play very well. You want to show that you can play all of them.
You save that, though, for the teams that you're a little bit more likely to win. This is such an important matchup for both of these teams right now. You can't be risking picking maps where, oh, look, we're going to try and hide some information, show that we're comfortable. It's got to be, this is the map we are going to win on.
Yeah, this is the map that people aren't going to pick against us because we're so good at it. Well, maybe that'll be how it goes. In any case, what are our just kind of general thoughts on Oasis for these two teams? Because neither are particularly Farah-y teams, which is something we talk about a lot with Oasis.
Yeah. Nones is probably going to be the one to pick up Farah, if anybody. Whereas for the side of Hong Kong Attitude, it's going to be Jin Kao picking up the Farah. So if either team decides to go for that, Hong Kong Attitude are going to run it with a triple DPS sort of shell, and Machi are not. They're going to stick to the 2-2-2. I think Machi are most comfortable in the 2-2-2, and Hong Kong Attitude was sort of the second team in the competition to sort of get into the triple DPS, but I don't believe they ever mastered it in the way that Blank has. And even now, I would debate if Hong Kong Attitude's triple DPS is even kind of on par with where Flash Wolves have got in theirs in terms of a comfort level.
Yeah, it's actually quite a good point. There's still quite a lot of questions about that, but certainly not going to be answered today. Neither team pulling out triple DPS here. Machi sitting on a 2-2-2, and they're going to be running can on that Tracer. Interesting here is Hong Kong Attitude are actually putting K4 on that Genji.
You know what? They really like the mobility here. They're really favoring the mobility over the consistent damage output. But you know what, Machi lacking the mobility, well, as I said, consistent damage output, but they also have to make sure they spend a lot of resources in protecting Nones, which so far it looks like is working out for them.
Yeah, Machi, a couple of members did get a little bit low, but honestly, Kiyomi was just better positioned than Mango Jai there. I feel like that's what a lot of that came down to, and because of that, Mango Jai got picked before Kiyomi. I mean, Kiyomi didn't even get picked in the end, right? He was able to actually successfully retreat. That's how well set up and well positioned he was. And it's actually quite unusual that we see that out of Mango Jai. Normally, he's very well positioned.
And Hong Kong Attitude are going to be the team to pull the trigger first here. They have the more dive-oriented composition. Machi are not going to be the really dive-oriented comp. They want to be protecting Nones here. You see Nones immediately going into cover straight away. And look, Kiyomi, we said he didn't die early last time. He is the focus this time.
Yeah, absolutely is. And, well, it gets pulled off. Hong Kong Attitude are actually looking in fairly good shape for this fight. Should be able to clean up the rest of these, and getting No Talk out of the mech is a nice way to make that go. Swinging back pretty effortlessly.
Might even look to clean up the fight.
Oh, that would be good.
They do get that one, so Hong Kong Attitude let the first fight go, come back on the second one with an ultimate advantage. Now they're now looking fairly set up, and for Machi, this is not a comfortable space because they're not the team that necessarily wants to dive first. They're going to be forced to make their dive here, but they also have to get Nones into a respectable position, specifically if they want to leverage that tack visor.
They do certainly have the ultimates to do it. Kind of hard to set yourself in that position. They're going to queue the fight themselves actually with the sound barrier. It does force out CQBs. Good pick on Mango Jai though. That is a great way to start it off. DCR1 going really hard on that dive, and actually that's the second time that's happened. The answer back does come through. Unfortunately, None is not able to get much with that tactical visor because of the pulse bomb, but Machi are the ones kind of cleaning up this fight, and really a Ting and Shaolin between the two of them aren't able to exert enough pressure to really secure any of these kills. There is just too much, I was about to say too much meat to fight through, by which I meant health bars, but anyway. Well, the cap comes through for Machi is the important thing.
You got to fight through the meat.
Steak fights back, yeah.
I mean,
it's actually a Siamese slapping steak.
And there's a couple of things Hong Kong Attitude did great there. It wasn't enough at the end of the day, but Shaolin getting the pulse bomb kill to Nones, immediately shutting down the tag visor. That was big because all Nones got was Jin Kao out of mech, but even then, it wasn't enough for Hong Kong Attitude to really secure that one back. How much he came in with a decent advantage still, I believe.
It's a very early Transcendence out of Mango Jai, and the team is a little bit scattered, so he's not really getting much mileage with it. He's not healing a lot of people at once, but they have got a good number of picks through. No Talk with that self-destruct does kind of force everyone's positioning, and Machi dive right on that, starts to get the cleanup to come through, and that was very well done by Machi, given that they actually lost Kant right at the top of that fight. Oh,
it's going to be a double.
Bomb.
Yep, I saw that coming because both the supports decided they kind of stuck to each other. You stick the bomb onto one player, and both players stuck onto each other.
Mega adhesive.
It's so... everyone just gets stuck on it. It ends up being a huge pickup, so Machi still not letting this one go. And I gotta say for Hong Kong Attitude, they've had a rough time with their supports. Mango Jai has been a target in so many of these fights, and that really comes down to the fact that you don't have K4 and Soldier there, so you don't have an alternative target. Your supports
once again.
Yeah, exactly.
And now Kiyomi running with this Transcendence is going to be completely fine. Keeps the team well topped off as they run their ultimates through. I mean, Look, Hong Kong Attitude lost that the moment they lost Mango Jar at the top of it. Still tried to throw their ultimates into it anyway because they kind of had to. And Machi just had more resources when all was said and done. K4, though, has actually just got his health topped off and has this Dragon Blade available. So once DCL1's ultimate runs out, unless he gets a whole bunch of bumps right at the end, oh, he does secure a ting, but K4, he's got to be looking for that window. Surely, DCL1 ultimate out now. When is he going to go for it? He doesn't need to. Actually managed to kind of force the cap through. Very well played.
Honkai Attitude got there in the end, even with a sort of a ting dying in the middle of that. Honkai Attitude cleaned up enough of the members on the side. It didn't really matter for them. Got the Dragon Blade coming out through next. It's going to be their next tool. I think Machi going to have to... I was going to say they may look to try and eco this one, but I don't know if they'll have enough time. 71% means I do believe they have to commit to this. They're about to hit Dragon Blade themselves, so all they got to really do is charge that one up and they'll be on equal footing and maybe a little bit extra as well. That should just get them past the line.
I think the big difference here, though, is going to be because Mango Jai went down, he will actually have Transcendence. Kiyomi won't, and oh my goodness, a reversal here as Kiyomi's the one to go down first. But look at this, Machi have nearly kept the point through. They're going to pressure Hong Kong Attitude, force them onto the point. Nonez absolutely opening up, now gets two with the Dragon Blade.
Mango Jai
yeah, looking to get the last one. Yeah, where is Mango Jai when you need him? Well, actually, he still got picked first. And K4 not getting half as much mileage. And suddenly Hong Kong Attitude, after kind of turning it around with a really great fight, they had everything there for them. They picked Kiyomi at the start. And then they just kind of let Machi force their hand.
Well, I mean, Mango died in the middle of that with Transcendence. That was their big tool to continue fighting. That was the big tool to keep them in the game. I don't know how he died with that because if he felt pressured, look, if he even panicked to use it, that would have been better than him dropping without it even being used because, like I said, the only way they were going to stay in the game, K4, he probably needed that support to get more out of his Dragon Blade. Genji could shut down super early here. Getting the extra healing from Transcendence would have been very helpful.
Yeah, it's one of those times where it's very much okay to use it preemptively.
Which would have been better than dying with it for that specific situation.
Yeah, in any case, no Sombra Mirror on this one. It's just going to be Hong Kong Attitude pulling that one out. And Machi not pulling out anything specifically anti-Sombra here, just kind of sticking to their guns, as it were. Actually, running a triple DPS here, actually.
Yep, there it is. We didn't see the triple DPS before. We do see it now, and it is going to be against Sombra. So, kind of, I want to say this is going to be fairly effective because the DPSs and generally every play will be fairly spread. You're not going to get full value out of EMPs.
It seems really that the two big weaknesses of Sombra actually are triple DPS and triple tank. I mean, she tends to do well enough against the 222s, and I mean, the triple tank is...
It does well against Reinhardt because you eliminate the shield and does well against Zaya for the same reason. So I think against triple tank it is actually a little bit more
What I actually meant was the complete opposite. I don't know what I was thinking. It's actually really good against triple tank because you basically get rid of all the extra tools and they just become big health bars, which are great for charging your own ultimates as well. But in any case, game at hand here is just Machi, again, just kind of forcing the positioning, which is a little unfortunate if you're Hong Kong Attitude, because they had time to set up everything with the Sombra, didn't quite get enough mileage out of it. Now with Machi in control at that point, they have to kind of fight for the ground of those health packs before they can even fight for the point itself.
And now they're going to have to fight for that point, but with EMP. But what I said earlier, I think will remain true here, which is I don't see the EMP getting full value. The DPSs are too spread. You have two DPSs that you just won't ever cash. Here it comes now, but it's only going to be on 3 members and only 1 DPS.
And CQB has only got 2 health as well. It's like we're doing a countdown here. They do pick Kiyomi, which is decent for them, but that's not like last time where Kiyomi was a healer, right? And they've again lost their own healer, so they're already looking really, really rough for this one. The respawn will come through for Kiyomi. He'll book it to the point, and DCR1 has this on lockdown, and there is no opportunity to follow up. K4, really late Dragon Blade committed, finds Nonez, may find another, but that was not worth it.
I don't see that as worth it either. He does get the kills, but they're going to have to respawn, so is he, unless Hong Kong Attitude can decide to just push now, which I don't believe they're timing-wise are going to get there in time for those kills from K4 to really matter. So ultimately, didn't really do much with that. Wasted ultimate, coming back in now, don't have EMP yet. They're still looking for engaged tools.
Yeah, just really trying to get onto this one. Shylin will have that pulse bomb available. They're going to need to get a really great pick with a Kiyomi low. Actually, this is an opportunity to go because the pressure no took as well. Does not get the Transcendence in time, and the sound barrier doesn't save him. Good pick onto Kiyomi now as well. They have everything going for them here. Nonez only finding CQB is actually really good for Hong Kong Attitude. Now a Ting putting on the pressure, and this should be them able to get a cap through here. Really just through positioning.
You would expect so. They also get it through with a couple of picks. Something you got to remember is triple DPS got a lot of damage output, but not a lot of health bars. So for both sides, it's kind of like a battle of picks out. Whoever gets the picks in there early in K4, the reflect kill onto Kiyomi really kind of secured the opening for there. even with the pulse bomb, even if the deflect wasn't going to kill Kiyomi, the pulse bomb would have from Shaylin. So a little bit of a 1-2 punch there, a little maybe slightly overcommitted, but it was going to secure that kill. Really important to open up Machi. And as soon as you get the first kill, that's when everything else happens.
Another actually really solid EMP connects on a large number of players. They're looking really good here now. About to just kind of clean up. They did lose a couple in that, but I mean, if you want to talk about sheer ult economy, that was phenomenal from Hong Kong Attitude.
They haven't closed this one out yet, just unfortunately. They have to actually be able to secure the remainder of the kills. I think they caught slightly more members in the EMP than before, but really, who you want to catch is you want to catch both Genji and Tracer, and specifically, if we're going to talk about ultimates as well, you want to be able to catch No Talk and deny the Transcendence cell. So I still don't know that the EMP is effective enough just yet. Now it's going to be the next fight coming in. Sound barrier already used by Hong Kong Attitude, but the pulse bomb connected onto a tank.
Yeah, they're looking a little bit rough here, Hong Kong Attitude. They have nothing really left aside from that Transcendence, and I mean, what's it even going to do for you? Who's that going to buy time for? Going to use it now anyway to just try and give Shaolin a little bit more runway, but now known as with that Transcendence finished, it's going to open up with the Dragon Blade, has that sound barrier on him. The picks did not come through for Hong Kong Attitude, and now Machi looking well set to swing back at 90%. They don't really have many ultimates to help with this final fight, but they've, oh wow.
Still kills.
What a round of cleanups. Never mind all that. I don't even know if Hong Kong Attitude will touch this point.
I don't expect them to, and even if they did, it would have been a very late struggle. I mean, if you're dropping members at roughly 95%, you're not going to get back there with the full team when it hits the overtime. So no matter which way you cut it, Nona's just kind of disassembled the team.
That was really stunning at the end there, actually. He opened up with the ult, and then he got, what, 2 kills? He got a kill or something, and then they kind of pressured the team off, got the cap, and then went, you know what, I can do better, and just went past the point and killed everyone. It was almost like Hong Kong Attitude weren't expecting it. Like they were still set up really closer to the point than they should have been because it was so close to cap. They're like, oh, we've got to be able to contest this as soon as we can. They kind of left themselves open up to Nonez. Do just have a little bit of a pause here coming on into the third map of this. We will hopefully get some details for you soon, but yeah, wow, that was... Machi are actually just looking one step ahead of Hong Kong Attitude
What's
here.
really interesting about Machi's composition is they're running Kiyomi as the third DPS. Now, we've seen this before, but I've never really talked about it. And the thing to take note is because you're running the support on the other DPS, you're forcing No Talk, who is usually the flex player, onto the support role. That actually locks you into playing triple DPS. You can't get out of triple DPS unless you want to swap 2 members, which then may have some adverse effects on your ult economy. So, essentially for Machi, it's not the cleanest triple DPS in terms of where you're putting your players. So that's maybe a little bit of a weakness for them in the sense that they can get trapped in that.
Yeah, well, the pause has resolved itself, by which I mean the game has been unpaused, now heading up the gardens. Actually could just try and really secure this one in a 3-0. I mean, the score won't quite tell the whole story, but like I said, look, this is close, but Machi do just at every given moment seem to have that one little extra bit. They just seem to be a little bit ahead of Hong Kong Attitude at all times.
I'll see if they can continue that lead, and well, the kill onto a team will certainly help, and you know, now getting Jin Kao's mech as well, this is really looking in the way of Machi, and Nonez is the one set up. I don't even know where K4 is.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude look in really bad shape
Oh,
here. Well, there's where
K4
K4 was. Yeah, he was just on the bouncy castle there.
Looking for a way to get up. He's almost like jumping up saying, where can I land? Nowhere safe. Well, I'm kind of stuck on this jump pad now, and it's just easy pickings for Nonez. And because you're running the same composition, both teams are looking for this setup on the high ground with the jump pad. Because Machi got there first, because the 10 got picked out so early by DCR1, it was very cleanly held by Machi.
And we didn't talk about it much, but actually Machi's opening contest, that high ground, was very well executed. Oh, No Talk barely getting into that mech, and then getting bumped straight back out of it. He will buy a lot of time for his team, and that's actually enough time to pick Mango Jai. That could be all they need to go for this. And No Talk hasn't actually died. He's now about to go down here, but not before Restia boops off K4. And they are looking, actually no, here we go. Now Ting's starting to clean it up now. They looked like they were actually in for a real shot for a minute there. DCR1 is really trying to buy time. They do get CQB, but Hong Kong Attitude are the ones with that high ground in their possession now. They got enough kills here. This is Machi, you know, with a skeleton crew trying to make a miracle happen. It's not going to work. Hong Kong Attitude will get the point.
Get the point. 48% already in Machi's favor. I think Machi will be kind of okay with losing it at this at this moment in time. 5 ultimates about to come online, so they're feeling pretty good. If they can sort of hit the next fight before K4 can get the attack visor, that's about the timing that they want to be able to hit here, because it will be a nano visor coming up for Hong Kong Attitude, which should be able to overpower Machi, assuming Kiyomi doesn't get Transcendence in time.
We certainly hope so. They're actually going to go ahead and, I believe, boost a Ting instead, who just kind of doesn't find anything. Machi sort of scattered to the 4 wins. The strike back coming from Xiaolin, though, as he gets DCR1 with the bomb, pressuring out everyone else. They do trade back. This is really anyone's fight for now. Nunez gets put to sleep, though, and that's going to swing it over towards Hong Kong Attitude. Oh, never mind all that, because K4 gets nothing for his tactical visor. Jinkao, what's the point of even healing him up? He's just a diva outside of the mech, and he was receiving all the healing instead of someone like Xiaolin or Ting, and now Xiaolin himself getting picked out. Machi, well set to recap this one.
Well set to recap, but they haven't capped yet, which is a bit of a problem. The stall is still happening with CQB down. That's when they're finally in there. I've got to respect CQB stall right at the end. Gave up his life, but put Hong Kong Attitude ahead. In fact, it realistically, it just evened up and equalized that progress, which is important for Hong Kong Attitude, because they don't want to fall too far behind. They don't want to give Machi too much advantage. They'll take the loss, but they won't want to take a big hit on an objective.
Very back and forth right now across this point. Like I said, it always feels like Machi are just a little bit ahead of Hong Kong Attitude. That was fantastic. But Hong Kong Attitude, they are learning, they are adapting. Look at how they're moving to this high ground now. Machi just seems to not be able to contest it. They seem to have lost their way a little bit with this one. Not putting in successful contest at all, and now they're putting the pressure on here, Hong Kong Attitude, routing out the healers in the DPS, and they're looking set to cap this one with nary an ultimate used.
And good cleanups by Ting, still really good cleanups by Ting.
Wow.
This entire sort of story of City Center is which team can get the high ground advantage set up, because they're both playing for the same objectives here, which is you're both running a soldier, you both want the high ground control, and then you let the rest of your team keep the low ground control. The only difference here is one team is running an Ana, the other team is running a Zenyatta, and there's sort of benefits on both sides there, which I quite like, but favor definitely now, and control definitely in Hong Kong Attitude's favor, specifically with ultimates coming online as well. The big one, Nano Visor, they haven't used it yet, and I believe they should go for it.
Yeah, as soon as K4 has this one, unless something phenomenal comes through here for Kant, but that's one heck of a pick for him to try and pick up. Have to get up to the top of that jump pad, and already has gone wide now. That tactical visor with the nano boost will be available. Machi are trying to set themselves up on the point to kind of force Hong Kong Attitude down here, but they can just kind of take the fight on the high ground as it is.
Time.
Yeah, they've got enough people on this point here, Hong Kong Attitude, to keep the contest alive, or they keep the high ground. They're kind of looking for a pick first. Now he's going to be known as his visor. If he finds K4, no, he's not going to. Wow, K4 isn't actually finding much himself. Actually, DCR1, good pressure. Where was K4? What was he doing on the low ground? They had the high ground in their possession. They had the ultimates too. Hong Kong Attitude, they're now not looking as good as they did a moment ago. Machi still with enough in the back pocket. DCR1 still sitting on an ultimate and a self-destruct to boot. Going to commit the ultimate now to try and catch the Tracer. Great sleep. Unfortunately gets woken back up, and he is still very angry about it. Self-destruct doesn't really find much either. And really, this is just both teams throwing everything they have, not finding anything. And this fight is going to be decided by kills.
Unfortunately, yeah, you're absolutely right here. We're already on overtime for Hong Kong Attitude, which is kind of working in their favor. The last ultimate coming out with Sound Barrier, that's got to put them ahead, but they got to clean up these kills. If we're saying it's got to come down to kills, they actually have to get these kills. K4 is now able to secure some of these.
Yeah,
finally, the nano cam comes out. No tech visor to go with it, but this will, I believe, should be just enough to clean this fight out.
Yeah, at the very least, they're going to really pressure these DPS out of here. Another pulse bomb goes wide. They do actually get that through at the very last minute there. That was very tight, but I will actually say very well executed. Hong Kong Attitude did absorb all the ultimates of Machi. Machi did do the same to them, and then when all was said and done, actually Hong Kong Attitude just had a little bit more left. Sure, they were scraping the bottom of the barrel, but Machi had kind of already thrown their barrel.
And I think the difference there, again, for the teams, when we talk about Ana and we talk about Zenyatta, it's the difference in ults being one team has more offensive options and that team is Hong Kong Attitude, the other team has more defensive options and that team is Machi. So a lot of this did come down to the kills at the end of the day, and the final fight really told the story of that. And for Hong Kong Attitude, getting that extra damage in there, just sort of squeezing out the kills at the end was exactly what they needed to do to secure that. But this was already a map, we're going back to the Gardens, one that Hong Kong Attitude has lost.
Yeah, and that's really what they carry into this one. So we'll have to see if Machi can repeat the performance and close this out here, or if Hong Kong Attitude will take us all the way to a 5th map. Which will likely again be one that Machi have beaten them on. But in any case, still all this in the future. Oh dear.
Well, the future
it's actually
is
good.
now.
Yeah, the future is now. Wow, and it looks no
Both
different.
Winstons are
Yeah,
very
both
quickly taken
Winstons.
out.
Sure. This is Machi just really with more control over the point again. This is actually an almost exact repeat of last time around. They set themselves up, they have the confidence to take the ground, and when they get the opening, they commit hard. Hong Kong Attitude, no such confidence being exhibited there.
And looked like Hong Kong Attitude completely lost positioning. It was Hong Kong Attitude stuck in that little corridor, the very narrow stairwell. Machi were free roaming outside, and for Nonias it was a simple execution of shurikens into dashes, into resets, kills upon kills, and just Machi swinging themselves way ahead after that fight.
The ultimate charge isn't too unfavorable though for Hong Kong Attitude. If they can absorb a fight here, maybe even draw out an ultimate or two, they can charge up some of their own, but already not in good shape as they lose Jin Kao as well now. They do pick Nonias. That is actually an ultimate they needed to get out. That was very, very good. And killed him after it had already finished channeling, so he's not going to have that back. CQB will get bumped off the edge here, but Hong Kong Attitude can gladly take that one on the chin and actually come into this next fight on a much more even playing field,
I think that was
considered.
I think that was a deliberate suicide because actually the rest of Hong Kong Attitude kind of died there and no one is here contesting. So, bit of a reset play for Hong Kong Attitude. I still got to say, huge shutdown on Nonias, especially because it cancelled his ultimate completely, something they would have really needed to keep the lead.
Oh, sticky boys, and they find a Ting right at the top of that. CQB out with the sound barrier, but it doesn't save anything. Now the pressure is there onto the healers. Look at Kant's target selection. Look at how he applies his pressure, and it is working wonders. Now with this Discord orb on Jin Kao, he's going to go down here. He can only run that defensive field for so long, the defense matrix rather, and Machi still staying in control of this with very few ultimates used.
This is huge for Machi because they're so far ahead. When we look at City Centre, Hong Kong Attitude were very much swinging at kind of 50-50. We were very close in terms of progress, but I don't see Hong Kong Attitude necessarily coming back into this not very soon. You have a Dragon Blade for a K4, but it will get countered up by good Transcendence out of Kiyomi. Where Mango Jai failed before for his Transcendence, I believe Kiyomi will be able to pull it out.
Well, let's see how they go. I mean, it's all really going to come down to this. They've already given the point over to Hong Kong Attitude. Hold on a second.
How did that happen?
Yeah, it really drops the ball. Now they need to cap back and probably still contest in overtime, but they are making it look good. Mango Joe, the ultimate has already run out. They pick K4. That is phenomenal. And their kills are just coming through. They're barely throwing ultimates at this. Now using up everything they've got. They will get the cap back in a moment here once they pick out Jin Kao. They probably won't be able to get back in the mech here. Oh, actually, just does barely. That will buy them a bit of time, maybe even enough to get back onto this point. The overtime is going to be there. There's K4 with that ultimate. Going to go right into it, not waiting for his team, but gets shut down once again. That is not at all surprising. I know he probably couldn't have afforded to wait for his team, but I mean, that was a 1% kind of play. It's no surprise that it didn't work out. Shailin can duck and weave for a while, but Machi, they still have plenty of resources here to secure this one for themselves, and they're still getting all the kills through. Machi looking set to pick this one up 3-1.
And once again, it's a case of Hong Kong Attitude losing critical members without ultimates being committed right when they should have been committed. Last time it was Mango Jai on Gardens. He had the only tool to save Hong Kong Attitude, and that was the Transcendence. Didn't get to use it before he died. This time, it was K4. Didn't manage to get the Dragon Blade out before he died. Came back in and used it, but the results kind of speak for themselves. Just got completely denied. And this was the opening fight as well. You see how easy Nonias controlled the space.
I'm going to be honest, I feel the big difference between these two teams is in their execution. Machi are just slightly better, both positionally and then during actual fights, things going off at the right times, the right places, against the right people. Hong Kong Attitude certainly aren't bad at it, but they're just not as clean. The one exception to that was actually Gardens. And that was because they sort of had this confidence. They kind of went for it, and they really were able to take it to Machi. Their execution was just better than Machi's. So, City Centre, sorry, yes, not Gardens. On City Centre where they picked up the map win, right? So, you can't help but feel that there's this suggestion there that if Hong Kong Attitude can just play with a little bit more confidence, maybe even a little bit of bravado, their execution can actually surpass Machi's. They have that ability, they're just not tapping into it all the time.
As well, right? Machi very happy to just run their full-on dive composition on everything except City Centre, right? Even on University, up against that Sombra composition, still happy to run dive, even triple DPS. But then also, when it was actually Hong Kong Attitude winning on City Centre, that was just them playing a soldier-based composition better. They were able to control the high ground. They constantly had control of it. They weren't even afraid to throw out nano boost onto someone that isn't soldier as well, actually throwing it out onto Arting to get a little bit more consistent value out of it and saving, like spreading the threats, right? You've got a nano boosted monkey and then a tactical visor, two very big threats you've got to deal with in the middle of a fight. That helped them out a lot in their win, but Machi came out on top because I believe they're just very confident in running that full-on dive composition, and Kant and Nonez on the Genji and Tracer have just been phenomenal.
The problem is I still see Shaolin as the better Tracer, and that was evident in the little small amounts of duels that we had, and the jump pad duel was an interesting one where Shaolin handedly, you know, just smacked Kant away. It just said, look, I'm clearly the better player here.
It was almost an afterthought. It was like he turned around and like, oh, Kant's here.
And he absolutely is the better Tracer. Now, I don't want to say that Nonez is the better Genji than K4, but I do want to say that the situations that Machi applied, and this comes down to execution, like you said, Nonez was constantly in better situations than K4 was. It's not even down to the individual skill here, but how your team set up the plays and where your team was fighting and forcing the other team into, and then choosing the engages. Machi had the better engages there. It was only in the soldier versus soldier on City Centre, again, as highlighted, where I believe that was where Machi, well, rather where Hong Kong Attitude identified correctly, this is the win condition for our team and also the same win condition for the enemy team. If we achieve this, we automatically nullify it for the other team, which is we're going to continually fight for the high ground and continually secure it. And Machi, they had to play from the back foot a lot of times. You see Nonez, you see the rest of the team. They have to come in from the direct opposite side. If Hong Kong Attitude are holding on the high ground here, Machi are coming in all the way from the back where they don't even have direct line of sight because they're not directly even fighting for the high ground anymore. They're just playing they're just playing for the cap on the ground.
Yeah, and that's been the tricky thing here, right? I mean, look, it's no secret that Shaolin is a great Tracer, and I agree with you. I still very much rate him above Kant right now. Not to say that Kant is bad, but, you know, put them in a 1v1, I feel like Shaolin wins it every single time. But the fact of the matter is, in that match, Kant and Nonez both were carrying more weight than Shaolin and K4 were, respectively. They had more impact. They always seemed to be in the right places. We didn't see Shaolin getting these great sticky bombs and, you know, absolutely dominating the kill feed, nor did we see K4 doing that, but we did see Nonez and Kant both doing it at certain times. And I feel like that kind of comes back to what I was saying before, and that it all seems to have been coming down to the execution. Moving on, though, we're going to be hitting up hybrid. Map pick has been locked in. It is going to be Hong Kong Attitude's pick of Numbani. So, this is a map they actually picked quite a long time ago, and we haven't seen it much from them since. I'm very excited to see this one.
Numbani is a cool map, especially for attack, right? Because you've got to approach it way differently to the other hybrid maps because it's a much longer respawn. You can't rely on just flooding the point with your own respawns, your own reinforcements. You have to actually very cleanly win a team fight. So a lot of teams take out a very defensive style that still incorporates a bit of vertical mobility, right? You've got Winston's, some teams even run Pharmacy on defense, but I believe both of these teams, Hong Kong Attitude and Machi, should just be running pretty standard dive. We might see a Tourbillon coming out from CQB, but apart from that, it's just going to be diving around the different levels, and it's also going to be about how each team approaches the attack, right? Do you go around for that long wraparound? We've seen Detonator go for a lot of those styles of plays, but when they don't work out, you take a lot of time setting it up, and you only have about 4 minutes to capture that first point.
Yeah, makeshift exactly 4 minutes.
I think it's a difficult attacking point. I think it's definitely a little bit easier for the defense there, but it is also a bit of a cat and mouse kind of point as well. I think the first cap is really where it's obviously the one we've seen the most because it's also the one where we've seen a decent amount of first holds. I mean, I think statistically
more so than any other map.
Numbani is probably the map where we see the most amount of first cap holds. So that speaks to the fact that it's spawn location wise slightly favored for defense, but also teams really playing that sort of cat and mouse where, again, do you go for the big wrap around? Where are you setting up attacking wise? Are you going for like a straight brawl, just diving directly at them, or are you doing something a little bit slower? And a lot of teams have different approaches to this, and I don't know if there's any direct correct answer. It's just kind of what is comfortable for you, but also, you know, how do you execute that?
Yeah, and that's why I feel this is an interesting map pick as well for Hong Kong Attitude, because it speaks, I suppose, to a modicum of confidence that they have something on this map that is going to be effective more so than whatever match you're doing. And I spoke in the last game, just been, that I feel the big difference between these two teams is when Hong Kong Attitude played with confidence, they executed properly, they executed well, and they won. And when they didn't execute as well as Machi, and they lost. And that confidence may just be all the difference.
And I've said sort of earlier tonight as well, you see when teams get really pushed into overtime, that's when the confidence comes out, because they don't have time to be super patient and just kind of fluff around. They just got to go. And when teams just got to go, for a lot of teams, that's when their best performance has been. And for Fireball tonight, I think I said this, that's when we saw them really pull it out. It was a double cap on Temple of Anubis that we did not expect. So if teams like Fireball, and also I got to say Hong Kong Attitude are in that boat, if they can just sort of tap into that and use that all the time, I think these teams would be much better.
Very interesting comp coming out here on the defensive for Machi. I expect Hong Kong Attitude won't change up too much here. They're looking to run a... it's not quite a dive as much as they've kind of got the more divey tanks. I feel purely because they're running this Ana and a soldier. Like, they're not going for this Genji Lucio kind of setup here, but Machi have got this really interesting kind of pick-oriented comp here with this Torbjorn as well.
Tank as well.
Yeah. I'm actually quite liking this defense here from Machi. I like what they've gone for here.
It's a big protect no-nares kind of composition. Almost kind of reminds me of AHQ in a way. Your main win condition here is to keep no-nares alive for as long as possible. That's what 3 tanks is going to hopefully allow you to do.
Yeah, but unfortunately they weren't proactive. Look at this, Hong Kong Attitude were actually given the time and space to set themselves up, and they're absolutely running with that. Oh, what a pulse bomb. That's what we expect out of Xiaolin. That is a much better play. Just when Machi was starting to get a couple of return kills, yeah, wow, Hong Kong Attitude. Like I said, it feels like the difference is confidence. They had a plan. They knew it was a good one. They executed on it. They capped the point, and they made it look simple.
That was a crazy fast pulse bomb out of Xiaolin as well. Just kind of, he cleaned up the mech and the Diva at the same time from No Talk, but the first kill on the Cant really set things in motion. Kiyomi followed straight after that, and then the entire Machi defense kind of fell apart. Remember, they were realistically only running one support because the Torbjorn doesn't count until the armor comes out.
There was a really solid pick on the Roadhog as well, and that has already been dropped like a hot potato. Machi, they're actually doing well enough here, given that they did get the pick on a team, but they're also kind of being positionally pressured here. With this Tac Visor, if they can get themselves in a good spot, they can kind of clean up this fight, but Hong Kong Attitude should ideally read that. They have backed off for long enough to a team to now rejoin them, and they're already starting to get the picks through. And now, unfortunately, Nones is not in a safe spot to run that tactical visor, and gets absolutely mowed down on the back end of K4's one. They just kind of let that one get opened up.
Well, unfortunately, No Talk, Nones opened up his Tac Visor, didn't really get much out of it, and K4 was like, let me show you how this is really done, and that's when the kills started coming in for Hong Kong Attitude. This has been a dominant display for Hong Kong Attitude to start things off. I do respect the early and aggressive defense from Machi on that street space. They know they needed to get in there quickly, try and leverage the fact that the second fight there won't be too many ultimates coming out of Hong Kong Attitude, and also this guarantees them the further fight now that we can see, but they are on the back foot.
Well, Machi have drawn their line in the sand. This is where it is. Xiaolin nearly has that pulse bomb. They do have a good set of ultimates themselves. DCR1 and a team both running the ultimates, but yeah, great sleep. That's going to be the self-destruct out of Jin Kao. Out of No Talk. Doesn't find a whole lot. Jin Kao, speaking of, has lost the mech, and actually it looks like Machi decently poised here. They will get the respawns through, and Nones is able to kind of apply some pressure down now with No Talk kind of getting aggressive on it. Good trade back by Xiaolin. Actually, Hong Kong Attitude really kind of squeezed this one through. Yeah, that was a great trade. It wasn't just a good trade, it was phenomenal. At the last minute there, they just kind of squeezed that one through off the back of Xiaolin alone.
Oh, we said on Oasis, look, Xiaolin didn't pop off on the kill feed very much. He is a good player, but didn't see his impact. Now you're starting to see his impact because for 2 fights in a row, he's been the one securing it all at the end. They're opening up. The first one was kind of just finishing a fight that was already won, but this time around it was cleaning up and being able to turn around and lose the situation.
once again picking out DCR1. Hello and welcome back to the Shaolin show. About to get that pulse bomb as well, and I'll be disappointed by anything less than a 4-man stick at this point. There's that 1v1 we talked about, takes down his counterpart in Can, and is really just keeping the pressure on left, right, and center. Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of these skill credits go over to the supports and that, but Shaolin is everywhere. He's doing so much work. This is an absolute slaughter. You're dead right there. And they're about to cap this one through with a solid almost 4 minutes in the time. Wow. This is gross.
There's no way Machi even getting in here. Look, the attack flies coming out. Nano as well. Securing spawn camping even. K4 is barely shooting. He's just using the butt of his gun, smacking the Machi players in the face. And that feels like a slap in the face for Machi, because after we just saw Oasis, which was so dominant, I don't know what happened there on Numbani for them, because it was a totally different team. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude, it was one solid push that never ended. It looked like one attack that just went forever. And Machi just, I mean,
I'll tell you what it is.
Stood there and got themselves all over.
It's that confidence. And I've got to go back to that. This is their map pick. They clearly had a plan, and we watched it happen. We watched the plan. They picked it out the gate. They executed well. It almost didn't matter what Machi were running on the defense. They had a great plan, and they pulled it off because they knew that they had a great plan. They practiced. They had the self-confidence to do it, and it just didn't seem to exist there on Oasis as much. Well, if that's the only difference between these two teams right now, then honestly, Hong Kong Attitude should be able to recognize that pattern and outright win the series from here. Now, that's not as easily done as it is said, but honestly, I feel like that's all it's going to take right now.
I think K4 needs the Zonda treatment currently, which is essentially you're banned from Genji and you're playing only Soldier from now on. Especially in games you actually need to win, because there is a stark difference between what K4 gets out of Genji and what he gets out of Soldier. And I think that's kind of true for a lot of DPS players out there, and Zonda kind of confirms that as the real case study to look at in terms of results. Genji's really not doing too great at the moment. Soldier's doing great even with that 1 damage nerf. So I mean, for K4, because it was partly because of his pick onto his own performance, but Shaolin was such a huge factor. He required so much attention from Machi. I don't know if K4 was pressured at all. He looked like he had the easiest game ever. Yeah, Shaolin had to really do a lot of work to get all that attention on him, but that was a bit of a breeze for HKA.
Yeah, I didn't quite get a chance to touch on this before the matchup, but Smite did mention the Farah here, sometimes opting for on the defense, sometimes on the offense, and actually known as in Kiyomi are one of the more reliable duos at pulling that out these days, so not overly surprised by this. We'll have to see how well they execute. They're actually fighting almost completely out of line of sight of that Tourbillon turret where it was set up initially, so it's actually starting to work out well for them. They're able to pressure out the Diva to kick this one off. Now with that numbers advantage, looking to commit the rest of the fight, but actually they're starting to lose members on the back end of this one, trying to get the trade backs through as they pick up Mango Jai, but they don't really have positional advantage on this fight anymore. They lose No Talk. Known as he's still in the pocket Mercy, but the respawns will start to come through for Hong Kong Attitude, and Machi do rightfully back off.
And Machi spent a lot of time getting just Jin Kao out of mech there and securing Jin Kao as the baby Diva, but unfortunately up to that, not really any other kills, and the Farah coming in from Nones is great for initially shutting down the turret, but as soon as that first turret goes, the second turret comes up pretty quickly. Shaolin is unanswered, K4 relatively unanswered, and these two DPSs plus a new turret coming in, it's too much for Machi to handle.
So far, it seems that way. They are going to be getting a decent run of ultimates up probably during this fight, and that's absolutely key when it's going to be good resurrect.
Yeah, they're going to have to try and leverage that as well. It's difficult to get a really good resurrect unless you're playing, unless you're specifically playing for the res. So again, turret does go down, but they're losing members, and it's not a good trade. If you're dropping a member for a turret, I don't know, I wouldn't take that.
Yeah, more importantly, they're getting very low as well. The ones that aren't actually straight up dying are getting really low, and it's meaning that the healer's resources are being so awkwardly split among everyone. Yeah, the Anubis is going to come out with the tactical visor, falls it out of Sandberry from Rescue, but they've already got the pick on DCR1. If they could have, it's actually kind of good if they absorb a lot of ultimates and then lose some members, because then they get a good rest to come out. Kiyomi commits it, but it's too early. Nones hadn't gone down yet, and now they lose the rocket barrage. They lose No Talk straight away and get baited right into Shailu's Dragon Blade. That was very greedy timing. Kiyomi felt like he was getting pressured, felt like he was going to die, and went for a much earlier res than was at all necessary.
And sorry, I gotta apologize because I gotta correct myself on one little detail. This is not on the current patch. You did not see the Mercy Resurrect come up in the kill feed, so we are on the previous 20 damage soldier patch, which kind of half explains why the soldiers are performing so well, but don't want to discredit anything Hong Kong Attitude have done or anything soldiers have done here. It was a really greedy play out of Machi, and you're right, didn't go for any much bigger res, and they did get punished for it because Hong Kong Attitude, they had enough left in the bank to clean up the kills despite the short resurrection.
And now once again, Nona's already getting very pressured, not really getting much here with this ultimate as Can goes right into a self-destruct along with Kiyomi. No healing to come out of him, and that means they don't really get a chance to build up a resurrect either in this fight or the next. And the next is liable to be the last. Look at this, the baby diva, the pet diva as I like to call it, No Talk, stuck out of that mech. And they're not going to kill him. He has to go all the way back to the spawn and swap off. Will lose any ultimate charge he gains. Machi looking in really bad shape here.
This is not good. This is the reason why we see so many first point holds, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was another first point hold. Hong Kong Attitude have looked dominant on the attack. They're looking dominant on the defense. I expect them to be able to win this map no matter what, because even if Machi cap it out here, they're going to be at a really disadvantaged time overall if we even make the time back, which is looking unlikely.
I think if it goes to time back, there's no way Machi get anything remotely close to what Hong Kong Attitude have. Nearly 4 whole minutes. And already the defense is looking good. Kiyomi may actually be able to get another res up during this fight. Finally committing the rocket barrage, but it gets completely absorbed by by Jin Kao, rather, the other one, the other diva. Now Shaolin opening up with the Dragon Blade, looking to see what he can find. Is already K4 has gone down. Yeah, no res. That's the pick you need. And Machi get absolutely picked apart on this final offense here. Yeah, Nona's picked up at the end. Well, that is it indeed, having to fight through that molten core as well. Always a hard ask, but well, like I said, man, their pick, their game, their rules. Hong Kong Attitude play with confidence, they win.
They're back in.
They absolutely are.
This is a big deal for Hong Kong Attitude because it was concerning. It was really concerning watching them on Oasis. A couple of good moments there. I mean, and it was all on one map. It was only on City Center. Everything else looks shaky. Now we're on to Numbani. This is incredible. This is a much better performance. I mean, I feel like we're watching a different team almost.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we have a series on our hands. I would not at all be surprised to see a Game 5 come out of this one, actually. And I think a lot of that is going to come down to how Assault goes, because I'm going to be totally frank. Straight up Escort is again going to be Hong Kong Attitude's pick. And even just the other evidence would suggest that they are much stronger right now at playing these payload-oriented game modes a little bit better than Machi. I mean, confidence or no, they did also have extremely good ultimate cycling, great positioning. They've really understood where to fight and when and how, and I think that's going to favor them in 3 out of 5 matches.
You know what? I don't know. I'm not confident we'll go to Game 5 because I think if Hong Kong Attitude play like that again, they're going to just clean it out by map 4. They're just going to take the next 2 maps because we got Assault and then we got Escort again. Well, not again, but Escort. Anyway, it's a payload
it's just
map.
Escort.
And,
right? So
yeah, and also, right, like the hybrid style of map, we saw both of those playstyles come out from Hong Kong Attitude almost flawlessly against Machi. Machi didn't even get a chance to show off their payload style, and they faltered a lot on the Assault
So
style.
we've seen the Assault period, we've seen the Assault half, we've seen the payload half, and I gotta say, like, Hong Kong Attitude just looked better on both. So if Hybrid is a representation of both Assault and Escort in terms of how the map is designed, Hong Kong Attitude, they look solid on both fronts. They're getting a first point hold, getting the attack completed and capped out in their first attack, and then a single push on through for the payload, not even really stopping once. I mean, this is a fully transformed Hong Kong Attitude lineup. If they continue this on the same trajectory, they will just 3-1 the entire series. But I don't know. That Oasis performance still sort of just hangs around in the back of my head.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, after the first match, I would have said the same in favor of Machi, right? Because if they just keep playing the same way, then it's going to be over in 3 games, right? And that's not invalid to say on paper, but I mean, that if is actually looking like a really big one, let's be frank, because one team picked up a convincing win, the other team then picked up a similarly convincing win. It actually seems that these teams are both very evenly matched, just not at the same time. They're never both coming into the game at this level. They're coming into it like this and then like this, and the question is going to be which team gets more of these than these, because that feels like what's going to determine who gets 3 and who gets 2.
Look, I mean, we're coming into Machi's pick now, which is going to be on Assault, and we saw on Oasis when the compositions are mostly mirrored with the Tracer and Genji style coming out, whether or not Nonez and Kant are technically the better Tracer and Genji players, they're getting better results, at least on Oasis, in mirrored compositions, right? If they can bring out a map where they can have that situation come out, then I think Machi will have a better shot at it than what we just saw on Numbani.
Yeah, well, compositionally, I would only agree with you halfway, because mirrored Genji Tracer, yeah, okay, cool, Machi on top. Mirrored Soldier, no way.
No,
Every time
not
we've
at
had
all.
a mirrored Soldier, Hong Kong Attitude have dominated.
Yeah, frankly, K4 just gets more done than Nonez. It really comes down to that. And also, when there is that Tracer there as well, I mean, as much as I said on Oasis, Kant was having more impact. He was in the right place at the right time. It wasn't that Shaolin was playing badly, just Kant was having more impact. That suddenly seems to stop being true the moment the Genji isn't there. I'm not sure exactly what that is or why, or perhaps it's more down to the game mode, but in any case, Shaolin really shone in that last one. In any case, Assault is going to be where a lot of the future of this best of 5 will be determined. That is going to be coming up just after a short break, so stick tight for that one and don't go anywhere. Well, and welcome back. Thank you very much for sticking with us through that break, and we are, of course, about to go hit up some place in the world for an Assault match, a good old-fashioned duel, as it were, between Machi Esports and Hong Kong Attitude. Series is tied 1-1, and I don't know if any of us can really say which way this one is going to go.
Well, I mean, like AVRL said before, if Hong Kong Attitude play anything like they did on Numbani, then it should just be the next 2 games easily in their favor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same style of map as we just saw, right? Just, you know, all of it is Assault, and then all of it is payload.
But the trick is that
If Hong Kong Attitude play anything like they did on Oasis, then
Machi win it.
it's going to be a Machi win.
And
so
that's why it's so hard to call, because that's the thing in each of these 2 wins, right? The team that won resoundingly and looked dominant. And even in the one map Hong Kong Attitude got in Oasis, they looked dominant compared to in the other maps, which is bizarre, but it does just seem that whichever team is kind of coming into this with a little bit more, I mean, I've been using the word confidence a lot. I'm not wanting to kind of have it as a buzzword here, but that seems to be a big part of it. The team that is willing to pull the trigger and does so well executes very, very well because they're a good team.
Thing is, that's a very fine line to cross, right? You suddenly become overconfident or just too hasty, I think is the right term for it, right?
Yeah.
You jump into a fight where you're expecting to win. The biggest case is a Genji going and expecting to get resets and then getting stuck in a pretty bad situation. And that is just, it's such a binary result, right? It either works fantastically or just crumbles and you lose the fight entirely. So it's situations where, yeah, sure, it's great to be on the trigger right away when you find the situation, but it's got to be the right situation. You've got to make the right call correctly.
It's like a cheesecake.
How?
Because there's no such thing as an average cheesecake. Cheesecake is either great and you eat it and it's delicious, or it is just way too oversweet and you feel ill. There is no middle ground.
Well,
so Genji ults like cheesecakes.
I've never had a terrible cheesecake.
I've had one terrible cheesecake and it was really terrible.
map though, as Temple.
It's a Cheesecake Factory?
Anubis. The map.
The map is Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, Temple of Anubis.
The Anubis,
Temple of-
the
yep.
Anubis Cheesecake Factory.
The Anubis
is where
Cheesecake
we are
Factory.
going.
Yeah. That's actually what's been going on in that temple.
It's a front.
It's the
It's a
temple.
front.
It's a temple to cheesecake. It's a temple to delicious desserts. In any case, so Temple of Anubis, it's just kind of a go-to, isn't it? I mean, there isn't anything in particular I think any of us could pull out really on, who would be more favored on what Assault map. I mean, this is the map we're going to. Do we have any particular thoughts about it?
We will very likely still see Sombra on the second point.
Yeah.
Now, in terms
Seems
of
to be bill of fare.
in terms of who ends up playing that, I'm trying to really think about it now. Mango Jai definitely plays a Sombra, so that's going to be Honko Attitude for you. And now on the other side, yeah, I guess it's going to be Kiyomi. So both teams are sort of quite well set for that. You're not going to lose either of your star DPS players for the Sombra, and that's kind of it. I think it's going to be fairly standard from both teams. So as far as the Knights being, both teams just kind of run the same thing in a mirror. They're kind of just going to do that again, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the case.
Oh, that May wall in the base. I think she's got a new voice line that kind of refers to that. It's something like, sorry, that was an accident, or something like that.
Oh. I thought it'd be something more like, you know, more
Aggressive.
straight to the point and aggressive, like, I'm actually griefing my own team. But I don't know.
Yeah. That's, like,
And
why,
I'm
is,
not
why is
sorry.
there an emote about that? Like, it just encourages being grief.
Exactly.
Uh,
That's why it doesn't exist.
That's actually the one thing that tilts me more than anything else is when you get a Mei player like who waits. I don't mind it so much at the start of a match when it's like halfway through and you just respawn and the Mei is there and they wall you in and then they'll always emote like hi like they're the first person to ever think to do that. Oh man, that tilts me off.
I gotta tell you what, one of these teams is gonna get griefed because if the past results tonight in this match has anything to say about it, one team has come out resoundingly on top of the other.
This is interesting. Mango Jai running that Sombra on the
This
offense.
is early. We're not even on the second cap yet, and they're not even defending.
Yeah, they're looking obviously to kind of set themselves up with whatever health packs they can and go for the slow burn, set up this EMP. I actually kind of like this, and I also like coming around this far side here to take out this health pack as well because it's one that a lot of people who sit on that high ground on the other side of the point, the other side from what we're seeing right now, they often fall back to their health pack. Oh, hold on a minute.
Yep,
No, it's
I
even
see.
beyond that.
Yep.
This is the slowest burn I've ever seen.
This is confidence from HKA. You talk about confidence. Confidence says HKA are going to storm through this entire first cap so fast that when Machi switched to their own Sombra, that health pack is already hacked in the favor of HKA. That's the statement they're making right now.
This was interesting. Mango Jai was invisible, but they still saw the particle effect of him moving. They are going to try and take advantage of that, but they're actually already hurting, having lost both their healers. Machi don't really have much to go with here, and they don't have any health packs to retreat to either. Mango Jai has actually kind of made it work, and look at him now just dodging around the point.
EMP.
Great EMP to come out there because he hacked so many packs, and they look set to clean this one up. That was stunning.
I mean, it's not about the quantity of packs because let's be honest, the one in the defender's base, no one on his team is going to make use of that. This is now the play. He's going to steal the pack before the other team Sombra can get to it.
They can't change over to a defensive Sombra now. He's going to hack everything around here, and they're going to do the exact same thing again. They are denying they're denying Machi.
So good.
They're denying Machi their own defensive space.
This is so good. Machi, no, they're like, we can't even run a Sombra here. We're entirely giving this up. We have to just respect that the health packs are gone. I like the play out of DCR1 though. Very good prediction. This actually might give Machi a little bit of an opening.
Gives them a very big opening, actually, enough to kind of stabilize and not just go straight down to a snowballed EMP. Looking to pick K4 as well would be very good news for them. Unfortunately, they lose Nonez, who had used that Dragon Blade, but they have enough ultimates lined up now. They've also swapped their own Sombra, and I think they'll actually be able to get a few packs of their own here, so they may just be able to stabilize well enough.
I think for Mango Jai, the mistake was to leave his translocator there. It kind of gave away that he was going to always teleport back to the big health pack, so they kind of lose the advantage of that early hack where the EMP did come down from Mango Jai. Where is the engage? Here we go.
They're really trying to make it happen. But unfortunately, not catching Restia means that Transcendence could still come through. Now they've got the stall tools out here. Hong Kong Attitude do it the sound barrier to kind of give them some more legs in this fight, but they're not getting quick closeouts. The respawns will all come through for Machi in a moment here. DCR1 stalling for a very long time. Now it looks like they're set to get a third, but yeah, the respawns are about to come out the gate now for Machi. Ooh, losing Kiyomi was a little rough. They're going to get 2/3 off it, and now suddenly Machi have to contest. Yeah, losing Kiyomi may have been the death sentence there because he was the only one really close to a swinging ultimate here. Oh, they're in a really tight spot. Hong Kong Attitude, it wasn't a full snowball, but it was a brief pause, and now the momentum is back on their side. The self-destruct to kind of force Kiyomi away from this one, and now they're willing to pressure onto him. He's forced off to the side, the ultimate having found nothing, and Hong Kong Attitude are on the cusp of closing this out. They can pick off Nonez. Ooh, he finally gets the mileage in, and this may just be Machi.
Another EMP.
Back. Oh yeah, again, wow.
This is so quick, and I think Machi have stabilized, which means Hong Kong Attitude, Mango's going to just keep that one to himself for the time being.
No, he's not. He wants it.
Okay, no, you're right. He did EMP. That's interesting.
They obviously feel like there is a moment. They'd actually lost Jin Kao's mech, but they do pick Nonez. This is... I'm not sure I quite agree with that, actually. He could have just, like you said, held on to it for the next fight. Good pick out there by Kant with that pulse bomb. Really threading the needle for K4. And yeah, Machi have actually stabilized. A lot of that came down, funnily enough, to picking that Reaper at the last minute. It just gave them a little bit more room to breathe against the tanks. A team committing a late ultimate here. They're really dragging this one out when they could actually have just pulled back, played for that final third. This is odd.
It's mistakes now coming up from Hong Kong Attitude, and it's confidence turning into not just overconfidence, but a little bit of
hubris.
Not even that. I just think desperation would probably be a closer word for it. It's like, look, we're ahead enough. We're like 90-something percent, 92.1%. Let's really just clean this one up. And people just started throwing things out there. Primal Rage was unneeded. The EMP was questionable at best. At least we have another EMP, and Nonis has just accepted his fate. He changed it onto the Reaper because he knew he was going to never get access to his own health packs.
Oh, this EMP could absolutely hamstring Machi there. Look at what they've got available, and now they have none of it there. Nonis will get that Death Blossom before long. They close out, losing Kiyomi with that Tac Visor running. That is not great at the start of this one. They're not really getting much themselves as their members go down. Machi lasted through that EMP, and even if another one gets charged up now, they can feel confident that they can actually just survive them and come back swinging.
Unfortunately, not enough kills out of the EMP, and it was sort of well played as a combination from Mango Jai and K4. Look, K4 is actually going to respond with a Reaper of his own here. Like, I said it before, but mirror matchups between these two teams is exactly how they play, right down to even both teams having a Sombra at the same time. I mean, it's uncanny that this is just how these guys operate. I don't even know if it's intentional. That's the really weird part.
It's almost like one team is just the other team from an alternate dimension. But in any case, here comes now the next EMP. He's really looking to find Nonis. Does actually just barely catch him, but has to go back, grab a health pack. They're not getting the kills through. They do manage to get Nonis off the back end of that one, but it's not looking too clean. They have lost a ting. They may just be able to get enough members though of Machi here to close this one out because there's no ultimates. But here comes Nonis now, has respawn, can get a big Death Blossom, and the point hasn't been captured yet. He's desperately trying to get into position as they pick off Kiyomi. Where is the Death Blossom? Finally, it gets a toe onto the point, thanks to DCR1, who is just barely able to avoid Shailen's Pulse Bomb. But Nonis, there he goes, finally looking to commit it, but it all gets absorbed by the Diva. Jin Kao now ready to throw out the self-destructors. Nonis gets picked again. Sound barrier for Hong Kong Attitude, giving them even more mileage in this fight, looking to kill off these last few members. That's going to be no talk out of the mech, and that is at last going to be the cab coming through. I feel like it could have happened 3 minutes sooner, but it still happened with 1.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and I sort of credit Hong Kong Attitude for the really smart plays, really creative sort of attacking style. They're very high risk because the entire duration right at the start for the first cap that Mango Jai decided, look, I'm going to go for all these massive health pack hacks. Your team is actually 5v6, and neither team committed. If Machi decided they wanted to commit there, they would have just won because it's 6 versus 5, and Mango is just not even there. Even if he was there, it's not like he has EMP ready. The Sombra is kind of like a nil factor in that sort of fight anyway, but the fact they executed that was really impressive because, yeah, Machi kind of let that one go in the first cap, and from there, the snowball started. EMP was available. The health packs were already hacked. Nonis had nothing to go on. How do you counter out a Sombra? Well, you bring out a Sombra and you just sort of counter hack your way in there. And it's really sort of devastating to be a Sombra and to find out you got nothing to hack because your health packs are gone.
Yeah, it was actually quite an interesting play by Mango. He kind of read that most teams have been switching to a defensive Sombra on that second point, and I actually kind of like that as just a way to stop that being an option, because especially on Temple of Anubis, that defensive Sombra, it denies so much of the minimal space you have as an attacker. You get even less, and it's really, really tough to kind of slog your way through. It makes fighting for thirds very difficult. It means often your only option is to really go for a big team wipe, and it's very hard to get all the way onto the point to actually do that. So actually cutting that off as an option was very smart play out of Mango.
It actually severely disrupts the healing as well and just disables the healing output because, look, Sombra or not, even if neither team ran Sombra and both teams had access to the health packs down below or just even to the side or in general, defensively, that's very useful.
Well,
now, defensively, it's extremely useful to have that completely denied and then for it to completely go into the favor of the other team, which feeds their ultimate charge on EMP, is a big deal.
Coming out the gate, though, now is something a little bit different. It's this Widowmaker on the offense that we do see sometimes, specifically on Temple, actually, and this is always a great one. The thing to note here, right, is it's not just about the picks, it's about the pressure you create because people don't want to expose themselves. Look at how Hong Kong Attitude are forced to position because of this Widowmaker.
It is, but now the fight's going to take place sort of in this corner here in Hong Kong Attitude. But they can take a 6v5. They can take a 6v5 right here because the Widow has no sight lines in this area.
Yeah, it's a 5v5, but look at this though. K4 is split off from his team and he can't really get into the rest of it. Good takedown of the turret. between Restia and using that deflect. Gets the second one as well. They do lose
Cant's
Cant,
down.
but they're kind of happy with that because they've got an opening now because the tank wasn't there. He was busy killing the Widowmaker. And now Machi look to open up. They're having a hard time with it though. Hong Kong Attitude, Ting does pull back in time and they do get the hold.
Ting really played that one quite well. Decided, you know, by the way, the Widowmaker has no support. It's not like we're watching Sun Sister versus Fireball again, where XQQ is completely held safely by Zetman. It's a huge bait. Ting goes in there, zero support coming out available for Cant, immediately gets taken down. Then Ting comes back, flying, lands on the supports. Kiyomi and Restia go down next, and the entire sort of support slash backline damage output for Machi is severed all in one swift swoop.
This is already looking rough for Machi. Cant now onto this Tracer instead, trying to kind of worm his way around the backside, but this is already a Nanoboost out from Mango Jai. Didn't actually quite catch who he is committed it to, but it hasn't really had too much of an impact. They do get a nice pick onto Shaolin though. This could be the opening that Machi need. Nonez nearly hits that Dragon Blade. Need to be careful to not lose No Talk. The healing hasn't quite come through there, and they are going to lose No Talk's mech here. And that could just spell disaster for this push because they'll be completely relying on DCR1. They can't even find through a Ting and traps the Zenyatta. That is nasty, nasty stuff. Just beats a robot to death with his big, hairy gorilla fists.
You got to say as well, if we're questioning Ting's performance on Reinhardt, I think he's answering a few questions on the Winston. He's saying, look, you know, maybe the Reinhardt's not up to scratch, but Winston-wise, he's doing a lot of work, a lot of important work here. He's the one taking out Cant on side when he's a Widow. He's the one assaulting the backline and keeping the healers in check as well. If the Ting is alive, he's doing work. The only problem is he has, on Oasis at least, been dying quite a lot, but we're way past Oasis now.
Yeah, we're a long way from Oasis.
I don't know though. This is Egypt and Oasis isn't what, in the Middle East, so geographically.
The United Arab Emirates. I mean, it's close in one regard, but it's also very far in another regard, and this is great. Look, the Molten Core, they can't even fight through it. Self-destruct does get committed out, but Ting is already dead. They're getting the picks to come through here. This is very nicely executed by Machi.
And the self-destruct specifically to take down the Molten Core turret as well. If you're not going to shoot your way through it while the self-destruct does so much damage, it's entirely going to decimate it and also prevents CQB from getting repairs. Really smart place from Machi. Good setups, and this should end up being a cap. It was hard fought. In fact, we're hitting about the 30-second mark, so I mean, this is a very long attack for Machi, but they get it. So, I mean, this could have ended like it was on Numbani, where they just don't get it at all, but they do get it, and that's important.
Yeah, now if they can actually get this last point with kind of one big conclusive fight, they can have a healthy enough time bank to cap this one out.
And then now, for some reason, neither team is going to run the Sombra. And that's okay. We're going back to something a little bit more traditional.
Yeah, well, I am a traditional man myself. I believe in family values and, I don't know.
And good nano boosts.
And good nano boosts, yeah, from Grandma. It's the family values I'm talking about. Cant going down at the top of this one again, losing that 1v1 to Shaolin. Might just mean Machi kind of have to back off. They're also lacking Kiyomi now, so they don't really have the healing to keep this one going. DCR1 is sure to go down here if he's not careful. Ting really going hard to secure that one, and actually manages to cut off Nonez's retreat as well between himself and K4, so good job to kind of stop any snowball potential right there and then.
Crazy healing on a Mango Jai, so he just used Nano Boost, already back on 73%. I mean, the charge here is really insane. K4's actually back onto the Genji, and I kind of like his soldier, but if he's feeling Genji, then sure, he's feeling Genji. This is going to be a tough one to crack no matter what K4's playing. And so far, getting that first defensive fight win for Hong Kong Attitude is going to set the pace and the precedent for them to continue defending for some time moving forward. Specifically, we're going to get another
pulse bomb gets eaten, and now Machi just have way more resources than Hong Kong Attitude. Need to be careful to not lose Kiyomi here. He does not have that Transcendence just yet. DCR1, very early ultimate. Now they commit the sound barrier, so they can last through this one a little bit. Good pick starting to come through as they find a Ting. They need to close out on a few more, though, if they want to even get a third here. And they're actually struggling. They're going to have to commit another ultimate in the form of this Dragon Blade to really make it happen. And Nonez, he's just not finding anything. DCR1, the only one to get a kill recently. Now, why is Kiyomi the one getting kills? K4 swings back now, finding Nonez. And that's all he even needs to find to take the wind out of the sails of this one. And Hong Kong Attitude, even though they're now looking like they might just lose a couple of members, the third has actually come through for Machi. Hold on a second, never mind. K4, he's been forced away from the point, so he's not contesting it. No one else is really alive to do so. Funny is to go back to it and is looking set to die. Machi, it looked like it was dire for a second there, but they might be able to do it. The pulse bomb to help secure it, and they're looking to cap. There are 2 minutes remaining. I don't believe it. They make it happen. They make it work.
Yeah, it was tough, but they got in there eventually. I think, you know,
boy.
the early Dragon Blade Unknowners really forced a lot of damage straight into the back of Hong Kong Attitude. I noticed there that Mango Joy was one of the first targets that went down. Good self-destructs from both teams, because both self-destructs really forced whatever team was on the other side to back out. And for Machi, that was Jin Kao forcing out the sound, nullifying the sound barrier, because sound barrier came out, but then no one could engage on that. They all had to hide away from the self-destruct. They came out and then they used the ultimates. That's fine, okay? Again, this is kind of what happens for Hong Kong Attitude sometimes, but he's at the end there, and the fight's nearly over, and he's one of the last few members alive, and finally he gets a Dragon Blade out there, and at that point, he killed No-Nares, and we said, look, at the time, it looked like a pretty good kill, but because nothing else really happened after that, and no one else from Hong Kong Attitude got kills, it didn't really end so well for him, so...
Well, then he dove.
That's kind of it.
He dove past the point. Some members didn't respawn, but they were split. They were separated. They couldn't actually adequately take the fight. It was a very interesting kind of one. I also feel like the start of that fight went about as bad as it possibly could for Machi, because they committed everything they had and got absolutely nothing until they were out of ultimates. Then suddenly they got a whole bunch of picks through. In any case, now once again on the defense is Machi. It will be Hong Kong Attitude attacking first, as they have the lower time of the two.
Which is crazy to consider, because their first attack was so fast, but then they kind of just, we said it ourselves, you know, they got the cap, but it felt like it should have been 3 minutes faster.
Now it is,
and had it been 3 minutes faster, they'd have a decent lead.
They would have an almost insurmountable lead, let's be completely honest. In any case, time crunch on to cap this point. Really have to do it in one good push or not at all. They don't have time to do a long setup.
I like that, because Sun Sister sort of had that problem where they were still playing for setups even in time back in Hong Kong Attitude. They know they don't have the time for that. You're absolutely right. And plus,
Good commitment.
at this point, it's kind of predictable as well.
Yeah, they didn't quite pick off No Talk, but because all of the healers were tied up and keeping him alive, they do find the window to take down the other members of Machi instead. Now picking off No Talk at the end, and Restia going down actually means they can't retreat with any ease. And now they're going to go barreling towards the second point well in advance. They're leaving some on this point to make sure the cap comes through, trying to set themselves up as best as they can to get a snowball cap, and they had the ultimates to do it.
And even faster than the first time they got the first cap. And the last time they played for the setup, they got it in one push, but not this quickly. So in terms of time, if you're Hong Kong Attitude, right now this is going fairly well. Ultimate's on your side as well. You could very well get a decent cap out here.
Oh, the pulse bomb doesn't connect with anything. That would have been a big one for them. They do use the Transcendence as well. Finally picking Rescue, but it's the only one they've got so far. They need to get a lot more. Ating does have his ultimate here, so they can make a long fight happen here, but now K4 looking ready with this Dragon Blade if he can close out a few. What a sleep though! Taking a snooze in the sunshine, and he can't actually get a tan on that robotic body, but now Ating and DCL1 both just in a cave looking angry. No really finding anything in particular, and it does look like Machi are set to stabilize here. The percentages do help Hong Kong Attitude, actually getting a full 40. Oh, good pulse bomb out of Shaolin. They may be able to get a little bit more now, actually bumping it up to 44. They need to pick Nones here. They really have lost too many. Shaolin is going to see if he can drag it out. Maybe, yeah, he's just going to try and secure a bit of overtime so that maybe the team can kind of respawn and come back to this one. They're trying so hard, but Machi should have the resources to stop this one up.
And a crazy EMP as well. I didn't even see that can switch onto the Sombra. He switched on the Sombra and got an EMP before I even noticed that he kind of went in there. I don't know. That was really quick timing, where it was Hong Kong Attitude coming with such a big advantage. Transcendence was pretty early, I'll admit, and the only thing they really got out of the initial ultimate usage was a kill onto Restia. It was really not enough. They spent a long time going for No Talk, trying to get him out of mech as well. He just flew down, got the health pack, and it was a really tough fight for Hong Kong Attitude. Also, you know, Dragon Blade out of K4 as well, immediately shut down by Kiyomi. This is why Kiyomi is one of the best Ana players. He landed the grenade, he landed the sleep dart on a really hard angle as well.
Yeah, it was while the Genji was actually going over Kiyomi's head. So that was Kiyomi basically just reading the positioning, aiming upwards, catching him mid, jump, mid dash. It was really, really great play. In any case, gaining the 30 seconds from that first cap, so overall, literally just under 2 minutes. It's 159 total for Hong Kong Attitude. They got up to 44% on that second point. And now with just about 2.5 minutes, Machi are going to have to do the exact same, which means basically if one fight, if one attack gets at all repelled, they lose their chance completely.
And if this first attack is going to go anything like what we saw from Machi before, I think it's a real possibility for HKA to get a full holdout here because it took Machi a long time to get past this first checkpoint.
Yeah, well, no Widowmaker this time around.
Which kind of was half the reason.
Yeah, I mean, Widowmaker plays slowly anyway. You're not going to get quick picks unless the enemy team really makes big mistakes. But teams like this tend not to. It's going to be Kant on the trace. We'll have to see how that infamous 1v1 goes. Oh dear, Nona's absolutely destroyed. They do pick CQB, but they haven't actually picked this turret. It's still pulling weight in this fight. And now Machi, look, they're just stuck in this building. This is Hong Kong Attitude's domain, and they're just kind of running short on time. If they lose too many members here, having also been caught up in this building, and look at how Hong Kong Attitude are positioned for this, by the way, they're going to actually just waste all of their time.
They need to actually collapse. I think Hong Kong Attitude are taking too long to actually deal with these members stuck. If you were wanting to wait to try and get the maximum time out like Flash Wolves are doing, you've waited too long.
I don't know, they're starting to turn it around, make it work. Shaolin is a little bit low, but they're getting all these kills through. If they can pick Nones as well, waits for the defector run now, gets that one on the Diva versus Diva. They actually barely hold it down, and that is half of Machi's time burned. It was ropey for a moment there for Hong Kong Attitude, but a hold is so huge for them right now.
They need to continue this on. It's looking super dicey. The members are just respawning, just getting back in there. At least K4's in a good position. Well, I mean, not for long, but he was in a good position.
Oh, this turret staying alive is really big. Yeah, he won the duel. That is so massive, and now he's on the high ground. This Transcendence is running sure, but so is this Tactical Visor. So is the Primal Rage. So was the Molten Core. Oh no, they're getting turned around upon though. With all of that running, with everything going, they couldn't actually get the pressure on. Machi are securing some kills through now, and they look set to take this first point. They're going to have their work cut out for them to get the second one though. It is going to be a long, long haul. They will not have much time. They have to get it in a snowball.
Kind of a couple of misplays there, specifically K4. He used Attack Visor
after
the Transcendence came out.
And there's
a little bit of a stall coming out. This is just buying time though, because it will still be a cap out from Machi. And it's just Hong Kong Attitude holding off for dear life. You said no snowball, but I think the snowball is still going to come through from Machi. Which is a little bit unfortunate for Hong Kong Attitude.
Shaolin dead, they had the opportunity. Actually, no, he's just barely respawned in time. I like
look at K4, look at K4. He's got on the mate.
He knows exactly what's up. He knows that it's all just about the stall here. This is so key. This is the sort of fight that you can just straight up win if you are Machi. And they've already got Mango Dry. They're looking to get as much as they can, as quick as they can. Another healer. But the Pulse Bomb does trade back. We're on a few. Ating does have the ultimate to stall this one out. It's going to be a hard ask, but they may just be able to do it. This is really going to come down to the wire. What a finish this is going to be. Get your cameras ready. Photo finish across the line. DCR1 now running with that Primal Rage. Machi, they still have a little bit of gas in the tank here, but no talk getting picked off. Hong Kong Attitude trying so hard to keep this on lockdown, getting these respawns through, and Machi aren't quite securing the kills fast enough with enough convincingness. They're trying so hard. They are mere percentage points away, less than 9% total, and they finally get the pick through. It's just Mango. They managed to get it through. I don't believe it. It looked like it was about to flip the way of Hong Kong Attitude, but at the lowest moment, they shine the brightest. And Machi, if we say it's down to execution, at the 11th hour, they had something that Hong Kong Attitude did not.
I think
and they put themselves up 2-1.
Hong Kong Attitude at some point just a little bit threw away their win condition. Now, I pointed out K4 went onto the main. Cool, you go for the stall. Unfortunately, a stall doesn't win you the cap here. Killing the attackers and actually resetting their attack completely is what gets you the win. And if you look at the final composition, you kind of caught a little bit at the end there. You had no supports. You had CQB changing from the Lucio onto the Reaper, and you had Mango Jai changing from the Ana onto a Pharah. So, I mean, it was just all damage, all right at the end, except the play you want the damage to be on, which is K4, didn't have the damage. So, I mean, I think it kind of cost them. I think they decided to go for the stall too early instead of playing for what their win condition could have been, which is just out-damaging the enemy team and getting those kills, because the kills matter. The kills really matter. If you, as a defensive team, your kills matter more than the attacking teams.
Well,
And also, the fact that they were running no heals, if they had even one piece of sustain in that, remember who the pulse bomb hit. They got a defensive pulse bomb on both the healers of Machi right there. They could have just simply outlasted the attack because no healers would have been there, keeping the attack alive. In fact, it just came down to that. Which amount of DPS can kill the other ones quicker?
And I sort of mentioned earlier, gentlemen, it felt like on each of those first two maps, one team just came in better than the other. And I felt like this was going to be a little bit coin flippy, you know, which team is just looking good on this map. Well, actually, both teams looked really good. Both teams actually really came out swinging. Both teams played phenomenal games of Overwatch there. And Machi played a better one. Slightly.
Yeah, so
but that's
close.
all the difference. That's all that matters.
I think it really came down to, again, Hong Kong Attitude's first attack and losing so much time on the second cap. We both said, well, mainly you said 3 minutes was about lost there. Felt like it should have been capped 3 minutes earlier. I agree with that. And had they had that 3 minutes extra, who knows? Hong Kong Attitude would have had a lot more to go off of for their time bank attack. And also at the same time, Hong Kong Attitude had such a good run in the first cap, but they really fell apart on that second defense. It was really kind of unfortunate, unexpected even.
It's almost like the pressure got to them a little. Almost. I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but I mean, it was a little uncharacteristic. It wasn't clean. It wasn't patient. And I mean, the May pick in there as well, it would suggest that maybe they just sort of not panicked, but kind of lost a bit of that coolness.
I think it came a little bit from when they're in the final defense on their time bank, right? They saw victory in their eyes when they were about to defend that first point, and that's where things started to get a little bit sloppy, right? For example, K4 throwing out Tac Visor after the Transcendence came out, you're not going to get anything
that
out
was
of
a
that.
mistake. I don't know why he did that.
That's 100% a useless ult, just gone.
Yeah, so next map has actually been locked in. Hong Kong Attitude picked it, and a bit of a mistake there. It's not actually Watchpoint Gibraltar. It is going to be Dorado that they're heading off to. So,
what?
Yeah.
Watchpoint Gibraltar actually, had it been that map, would have been a
Yeah,
classic
that would have been
rematch.
hilarious, because I mean, that was, we remember last time that happened.
boy.
It was, I mean, I don't want to use the term clown fiesta, but it was deeply entertaining. But Dorado, is there any relevant evidence we can pull out for either of these teams? I mean, frankly, we don't see a whole heap of Escort, and certainly not with these two teams playing off against one another. I do believe we did see Hong Kong Attitude play Dorado. No, it was actually, no, they play Watchpoint Gibraltar in that infamous blank series. Where do we feel this pick is coming from, guys?
It is coming, to me at least, from a sort of basis of not going to be predictable here. If you're Machi and you're expecting a game 4, you're preparing Gibraltar because that's what you're expecting should it go to a game 4, well, surprise, here's Dorado. I don't know if you're ready for this.
Also,
Right.
I'd say there's a lot of places you can utilize Soldier as well on not just defense, but offense as well, if you can wrangle your way up into the defensive positions, which quite often is exactly what the offensive team wants to do. So it's something, a plan that Hong Kong Attitude are going to be doing anyway. They can very easily park their Soldier up there, be a massive threat, and that's going to be on attack and on defense. So I'd say it's something that while it's still possible on the other Escort maps, I think Dorado is probably the biggest example of it.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair, actually. There's something kind of interesting I do want to bring up, though, because we mentioned this after Numbani. We felt that Hong Kong Attitude were in good shape because the first one, it's kind of like an assault, and then the second part is just Escort. Well, we then just saw them lose on assault, so maybe we have to remove that kind of circumstantial evidence. So do we really feel that the Escort half of that hybrid is good enough for them to have absolute confidence in here? I think it would be fair to say that confidence could have been a little bit shaken.
I gotta say, because we didn't even see Machi's sort of part on the Escort, it's difficult to gauge what Machi have to bring for Escort. We now know assault-wise, look, it was pretty close. Numbani is the Numbani part of assault, maybe not so much, but again, difficult to gauge where Machi stand on assault because we didn't even see that coming out of Numbani.
Nice little village in the distance there.
Is that where Castillo is?
I don't know, like Castillo. I think it's the other way. I think it's more in the direction. Like if you look at the other way, there's like those kind of pyramids on the horizon. In Castillo, you can see. Yeah, you can actually see those. They're a little bit closer. So I think it's like it's in the direction that K4 is facing right now. I think.
Well, K4 is facing a couple of Machi defensive members, and this is important that they've spotted out this sort of forward positioning because they have to find a way to sort of repel these early divers and get the cart safely around the bend.
They are actually keeping the cart moving though. That's the more important thing. They're kind of forcing Machi's hand now to commit to the low ground, and it's not going to be an easy ask because I mean, look, every pick they get onto Hong Kong Attitude is going to respawn and is going to be very close. So Machi have to be very cautious in how they commit to this and may want to start peeling back.
Well, they're already losing members, including a Ting, so your front line is down. That's a good kill.
Ooh,
in fact, a really important one because your spawn is so close still. And for Kiyomi, sorry, not even for Kiyomi, it's actually Restia.
Yeah.
Wow, everyone plays Soldier
Yeah,
apparently.
it's triple DPS, but they're not putting Kiyomi on the Soldier. You're right, that is very interesting indeed. And now starting to seek to close out a few more. Nona's kind of keeping the team afloat here though, able to pick off a few, and they will be able to get Restia back with this team. They're committing a tactical boost, a nano boost through this. I'm so used to being nano visor.
It feels pretty tactical.
Yeah.
So does this play from Hong Kong Attitude though.
Yeah, I mean, this was just well answered. I'm not sure what I was going to say about that nano boost is I'm not sure I agree with it. It was kind of prolonging something that was really just meant to run down the clock a little bit and put them in a very overextended position. Well, now they're really paying for it.
A minute and 30 just to get the cart into the archway does feel like a good amount of time bought. You're trading time bought for, I would say, momentum and ultimates here, which for Machi is they are now a little bit behind the curve for that. Cart distance is fairly good now. We're already around the sort of this middle statue section, so I mean, Hong Kong in a great space. Specifically, this should get a kill.
Wow, yeah, they're really committing to it hard, but the one ultimate they really had to leverage here, Machi, is that Transcendence, and it keeps the team alive. Now they're swinging back in the literal sense, as known as opens up, getting Jin Cao.
Yeah, it's opened
Sound
up.
barrier, yeah, unfortunately. Sound barrier didn't do too much for Hong Kong Attitude there. It did keep Shaolin a little bit healthy, but Machi, they do still have a good amount to go off, and DCR1 with this ultimate running as well. It's going to go full hunter-killer on these squishies. At the very least, they've stopped up this payload again, so a minute and a half to get to the arch, and now going to be under a minute and a half, even if they could get the cap through here, so Hong Kong Attitude beaten back for now.
Well, it does force Machi to defend very far back, so for Hong Kong Attitude, what they can leverage is a lot of open space. One of the most difficult portions to get past on this initial cap is past that archway because it's a really massive choke. It's a very difficult situation to get past from a defending team holding close. Unfortunately for defense, they can't afford to hold close.
That's another nano boost onto DCR1. Let's see if we can get a little bit more mileage for it this time because he can't even seem to find a target here. And the boost is about to run out. That was absolutely no mileage. But luckily for him, Kant got a double pulse bomb and everything was K.
That kind of feels like a bit of payback for all the massive pulse bomb Shaolin has been showing against Machi for the entire night. It's kind of good for Machi to say, look,
we can do that too.
We can do that one time, maybe we'll do it again. They're going to have to do it again. This is still a lot of time lost from Hong Kong Attitude though, so, you know.
Good pressure onto K4, kind of forced him around a little bit. Excuse me, Hong Kong Attitude looking to go commit hard. They do pick DCR1, good way to start it, and they take Kant out, so no crazy pulse bombs here. They do need to get a few more than that to really get this payload moving underway in a convincing regard. No Talk can stall this one out with the Transcendence, and there it goes. They do manage to get Rescue though, and Kiyomi, in spite of that Transcendence, who is even healing? Hong Kong Attitude looking set now to push this one through and get the cap. Will only be able to do it in overtime here. Unless Machi, they actually might want to commit to this really hard. If Nunez can get topped off, never mind. Right as I say that, he gets absolutely destroyed. Hong Kong Attitude, I believe in you. You can do it.
Well, still attack visor coming out from Nunez, gets shut down, so this could very much be it. Counter Transcendence from Mango Jai as well. I don't see Hong Kong Attitude not getting this, but at the same time, Machi are just holding on.
Everything and the kitchen sink. I mean, look at how much time DCR1 has bought. It's enough for Nunez to come in with the Dragon Blade. K4, though, luckily having his own, gets a lot more mileage for it. It's taking them a long time, but they are at last poised to get the cap through. Hong Kong Attitude kind of just wore themselves out there. They did pull a lot of ultimates out of Machi, so it's not like it's going to be some crazy huge snowball here, but That's got to be exhausting for Hong Kong Attitude, if nothing else.
It's annoying as well because Machi have been so good at delaying time. Their entire defensive strategy across, I'd say, 2 maps now has been very, very good stalling from them on several points. I mean, it's difficult. A lot of time has been bled down. Even now going into Streets phase, we're less than 2 minutes, and the card is only just moving into the Streets.
Yeah, only just indeed. And Machi, they don't really have much to use here compared to Hong Kong Attitude, but they do just seem to be getting the frags through where Hong Kong Attitude are kind of struggling. The only one they've picked so far has been No Talk. Oh, they actually do get a few more. Want to keep this fight going now. Shaolin with the Pulse Bomb. Kind of panic throws it out, actually. Jinkao has been holding on to the self-destruct here. Good pick onto Canton. They can actually keep this payload moving here quite handily. This has actually ended up going quite nicely for Hong Kong Attitude, even though they ended up kind of 3 men down at the top of this fight.
Yeah, well, Machi kind of committed everything there. They, in terms of committing everything there, I more mean like half their members committed and the other half members was just kind of caught out and had no option but to sort of remain and die.
Payload actually looking to cap through on this one. Machi have taken a very odd path to contest this. It's going to be the self-destruct to try and stop them up as they set up. And they picked DCR1. That was the closest thing they had to an ultimate at the time. Nonez will have this Dragon Blade available. Needs to get a lot of mileage out of it. But he's already low, being pressured out of the fight. But now looking to come back swinging as they pressure out Kant. Transcendence now out for the offense. Tied them over. Now let's see. Yeah, and the defense as well. You're quite right. And already K4 getting more done than Nonez could ever hope to. But the rest of Machi, it's Kant actually securing these kills through. Wow, what a nail biter this is becoming.
Kanta's coming out in a way where, you know, this is where you've traditionally have seen Shaolin in this sort of spot, just securing these kills that just managed to push their team over the line, and Shailin's currently not managing to do that a lot, and Kant has. This is the first time really Kant has been able to do this so far in the series.
Look at Machi's run of ultimates as well. They are looking good, and they only have to defend for 10 seconds. It's a lot later than would be ideal, but if this is where they can draw that line in the sand, then they'll take it. Shaolin needs to get a great pulse bomb, but already kind of forced back by Kant, and Machi are already getting the kills. They get Shaolin, and they're looking to make their stand here and make it a final one. A team going full-on Heat Seeker again, just beating a robot to robotic death, I suppose. And now we're seeing the ultimate run out was the only thing kind of keeping his team alive on that payload. The overtime, it starts off slow, it gets faster, and Machi do find their place to hold.
That was a tough one for Hong Kong Attitude, I think.
It very much was, but the thing that gets me right about killing a robot is you can just repair it. Like, you just put it back together, it's still gonna run. Like, Kevin, if I pulled your head off, there's no coming back from that. But if you pop a robot's head off, you can put it back on. Just turn it, like, just repair it, switch it on. You can't kill a robot in that same way. You'd have to melt it.
I've seen C3PO being pulled apart in multiple different ways.
And he was still talking too. He was fine. And if I did that to you and put you on the back of a Wookiee, you'd be gone.
Yeah, well, let's hope you don't ever do that to me.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not planning on it.
It would also be really impressive if you could just do that with your bare hands. That'd be something else. That'd be like Sub-Zero out of Mortal Kombat or something. That'd be very impressive. I'd be like, you know what?
Wow.
I'm not having a great time with my life, but I am impressed.
That's your last words are, I'm impressed.
What I'm a little bit less impressed about is so far Hong Kong Attitude on that attack was unfortunately just not the same team we saw in Numbani. I mean, what happened to that Numbani attack out of Hong Kong Attitude? That was fantastic by them, and this has been a real struggle. I mean, it's like they get it, they manage to push it through. They don't get the full cap out, but because that mainly was due to the fact that Machi's stall is so fantastic at several points. I mean, 1.5 minutes they stalled just in that opening section before we even get to the archway. And then we're forcing the overtime when we actually get to the end of the first cap anyway. And then additional stalls before we even cap out the second checkpoint. So, I mean, in terms of how much you're playing for time, they've really done a great job there.
Hong Kong Attitude seemed to get cold feet on their team comp for a minute there. Kind of gone back, reassessed. Now back out and ready to go. And not as interestingly enough going to be on this Pharah. And I actually really favor this against what Hong Kong Attitude have pulled out specifically.
All right, well, no sort of early defense from Hong Kong Attitude. They're going to take a step back. This is a little bit more of a traditional defense. Haven't seen this kind of 2-2-2 come out in a while, but
Zarya Reinhardt.
I like to see them make it work. This is a nice flank from Kant, who, you know, bringing out the Genji, a bit of a rare appearance. Usually you see Nonez on that, but Nonez is going to be playing Ferris, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. And also that actually puts Kiyomi over onto this Tracer and is doing so much work on it. Oh my goodness. Do get a couple of good trade backs, but the space has been made. The payload is underway, and Nonez catches Mango Jar at the back end of that. This is going to be a cap.
And it's really unfortunate for a Ting because, like we've said, the Ting has got a few problems on Reinhardt, but I don't even know if that was really him because it's very difficult as a Reinhardt to sort of keep track of all three DPSs. You got a Tracer on your back, you got a Genji behind you as well, you got Pharah in the skies, you don't know where to look. You're getting annihilated from all angles, and a Ting just had no chance. As soon as the Ting went down, the rest of Hong Kong Attitude got opened up, and K4 had nowhere to run.
I really like Nonez changing there. A lot of people would not bother to go, oh, I'll get an ultimate first and use that. Even though he was over 50% charge, he still changed because he actually should do so. The Soldier is going to honestly fare them a lot better on this point.
Speaking of a change, the Ting back on the Winston, I don't like that. That's
you don't like that?
I do like that.
Okay, I was going to say, I do like that. And what I also like is Kant absolutely slicing Hong Kong Attitude to bits. The payload has yet to be stopped. It's sort of, I mean, Hong Kong Attitude could probably go up to it and all blow on it at once and stall it for longer than they have so far this game.
I mean, Machi, they're great at stalling on defense. They're even stalling on attack. I mean, they're stalling out the defense out of Hong Kong Attitude. It's insane to really consider that, but this could be a 3-1 for Hong Kong Attitude, who did so well in Numbani.
Yeah.
The card is nearly there.
Numbani looked absolutely devastating, and we thought this was going to a game 5. I mean, even Assault was incredibly close, but Hong Kong Attitude on this defense is just falling to bits. Getting sick of your Hong Kong Attitude.
Maybe. That could be the case here. And where is Hong Kong Attitude right now? Because the cart has stopped.
Well, they're on Dorado.
So Machi had to sort of pause their attack for a little bit there. The first time they paused their attack so far on their attacking turn. For Machi, for Hong Kong Attitude rather, I don't see a real win condition here, aside from K4 getting the best tech visor ever.
And look, Machi have so many tools to shut that down. They don't quite have a demon to fly in his
tool
face,
right
but there it is. Yeah, it's a scalpel out of Kant as opposed to the sledgehammer that a demon normally brings to the table. They do lose their one tank though, so this is a little bit ropey for them. They haven't secured these other kills just yet on Hong Kong Attitude. Finally getting Shailin here, now looking to close out on Jin Kao. Nonez opening up with the attack. Visor doesn't actually get a ting, but he gets him low enough here. They actually look like they're kind of willing to commit to this still, but I think they're maybe just better served kind of backing off here. A Ting was actually just barely able to hold that one together for Hong Kong Attitude, and this could well be where they draw their line in the sand. Kind of has to be.
It was a great great tactical boost. I got into that trap as well. Look, we're both being trapped by that. But a good nano boost.
It's better than calling it a Bano Noost. I did that once.
I don't even know what that is. Thanks for teaching me that one, but either way, good nano boost going onto a Ting, which was an important tool for keeping Hong Kong Attitude in there, because every time a Ting has gone down early, Hong Kong Attitude fall apart quite quickly as the only tank. Well, he's actually not the only tank, but as the main tank, I mean, his role is really important in his team.
Well, he might as well be the only tank. I mean, Jin Kao who? I haven't noticed Jin Kao a whole lot. I only just realized he's on Diva. Time to raise his APM. Apparently it wasn't high enough.
Just thought Hong Kong Attitude would have 5 people.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway,
they do have 5 people now.
Fight already go in the favor of Machi as they pick the healers as well. The payload is so close to done here. And if K4, unless he gets a crazy tactical visor, is at last going to fall
Sounds like
away
the
Machi.
last defense.
Yeah, that wasn't even a defense. That sounds like the last victory for Machi. Look, Hong Kong Attitude, they got one good fight, and it was all on the back of a Ting. But I'll be honest, the rest of them couldn't seem to muster enough there on the defense. They really did get flattened. That was a class act by Machi. And after a good opening map, then good second map for Hong Kong Attitude, and a really tight assault, I don't think any of us were expecting Dorado to go that way. But it was all Machi.
Well, I predicted a 3-1, but a 3-1 for the other team and not Machi, unfortunately. So somebody got a 3-1.
That's it. I'm revoking your analyst license. You made a wrong prediction.
Yeah. It just takes one wrong prediction.
And you're done. Absolutely done. Well, that was an absolute joy, that series. I'm going to be honest. Highlight of my night. Didn't see any really crazy, weird soldier ultimates, which is nice when we see these two teams play. I like it when the ultimates go at people and not walls. That's really refreshing change, but really well-deserved win, I would say, out of Machi, and I think this says a lot moving forward.
It does, specifically for Machi on their journey to potentially secure a top 3 spot. Unfortunately for Hong Kong Attitude, like, you got to think this is kind of it for them. As far as Detonator, Sun Sister, and Fireball are out, I don't know if mathematically Hong Kong Attitude are out just yet, but realistically, if they're not beating Machi now and they're slipping further and further down, and let's be honest, Fireball are catching up. I said earlier, Fireball pick up 2 wins, which they did, and Hong Kong Attitude do not. Only 1 point now separates Hong Kong Attitude and Fireball. So it could actually be the catch-up.
And the reality is, even if points-wise it was doable, even if points-wise it happened, you can't help but feel that Hong Kong Attitude, if they can't even get past Machi, could they really get past these other playoff material teams?
And this is the first time in the entire tournament now where Hong Kong Attitude are actually negative in scoreline. They were 8-8 before, which is the worst they'd ever had. And now, finally, their losses are more than their wins. So this is kind of like the fall of Hong Kong Attitude now.
It really is. And I suppose the other part of that has been the dramatic rise of Machi, who, like I said, at their lowest point, were once actually 3rd from the bottom and then have absolutely swept up. I mean, sure, that only is a ranking change of 2 places, but when you take into consideration the fact that they are now knocking on the door of the top 3, and with the slow decline now of Blank, maybe there is a very serious opening there too. You've got to give credit where credit is due. Machi, after where they started this tournament at, have been by far the most improved team.
I mean, Machi as well. You talk about when they were 3rd from the bottom. They were 2 for 5 at the end of the first round. That means they've only lost 3 matches since all the way back then at the end of the first round robin, and now they're at 11 wins. And
good point.
Like you said, the most important thing is they're now knocking on the door to get into 3rd place for Blank. I mean, they're still 3 wins behind. That's still a pretty big distance to cross. But it's now looking very, very possible. It's definitely within the realms of possibility. And Machi, look at the compositions they were running as well. Triple DPS.
Yeah, they seem to just have this confidence to run, frankly, a wider variety of things than most teams. And I suppose the other part of this that we have to mention is, had a loss come through here, we would have had to very seriously question their ability to make playoffs. Now, yeah, sure, it's still, there's a question around it, and that question is, can they beat these other teams? But it's, can they beat these other teams, not are they even playoffs material at all? And we actually would still consider that maybe they are. At least we can't know for sure until those matches against HQ, against Flash Wolves, against Blank come around.
I think it would take for Blank to lose... Blank would have to lose 4 games, 4 matches in the next round robin, or just between now and the next round robin, I believe, for Machi to be able to catch up. And Machi would also have to beat Blank and also AHQ and Flash Wolves, I think, for them to actually get enough points, because...
I think they only have to beat a minimum of 2. And I mean, even if you only beat 1... So here's the thing, right? Let's say Blank had this absolute dizzying fall, and Machi beat Blank, and then Blank lose a whole bunch of matches. Naturally, that is going to bump Machi up into that top 3. So that is also a thing we have to consider. Like, we can't just look at this and go, well, these top 3 teams are going to continue winning basically everything, because that might not actually be true.
It will certainly help if Machi can defeat AHQ or Flash Wolves, or even both if they're very lucky with that.
The win difference you have to get from now until the end of the last round robin is 4. For Machi to actually... You don't want to be equaling Blank because Machi's losses are too high. Blank still only have 4 losses. Machi's sitting on 8. So even if you get the same number of wins, you're just going to lose out from actually hitting in. So you're going to get 1 more win than Blank. So you're going to get... The win difference has to be 4, which means you have to get 4 wins where Blank do not, for Machi to be able to actually overtake Blank right now.
Very good point. Well, can't help but feel that if anyone can do it, it is the team that went from 2 and 5 in the first round robin to now being solidly in 4th place. They haven't just snatched it from Hong Kong Attitude, they've now secured it. It is theirs, they own it. They are the gatekeeper. If you can't beat Machi, you aren't making playoffs. And heck, even then, Machi might not be making playoffs. We should be able to jump on into an interview with one of the members of Machi before long as well. Before we do, that's kind of been the whole night, just done and dusted there. And I feel like every result was fairly expected. Actually, just going to jump in here. Player of the game has gone to Kant on that Tracer. I think that's quite interesting. we kind of pinned at the top of the night that we rated Shailin much above him, but a lot of that was actually Cant really coming up big, except for one game where Shailin was.
I might, most days of the week, rate Shailin over Cant, but tonight, there's no denying it. Cant was getting better results for the most part. Now, maybe Shailin was getting better pulse bombs and occasionally securing fights, mostly on things like Temple of Anubis and then Numbani as well when he was playing Tracer, but the rest of the maps, I've got to say, Cant was just, along with Nonez, of course, getting way more results from his Tracer play.
I think it's about impact, right? The real answer here is impact, because it's, if we're going to compare on a sort of 1v1 basis, look, Shailin is just a better Tracer. That's just, I think that's kind of a fact right now.
And we even saw that. He would win all their duels.
Absolutely. He's a better Tracer in a 1v1 scenario, but in terms of impact, look, right at the end, Dorado specifically, because that was the winning map, the map that sort of secured it for Machi, Cant's impact on that map was much higher than Shailin. Shailin didn't feel like he was really existing, but Cant, multiple times on the kill feed, and just not even only on the Tracer there, but he had a few runs on Genji even when Nonez was playing Pharaoh.
Yeah.
So I mean, the guy just spread out across a couple of different heroes, really put his weight there.
Yeah, really starting to shine a little bit more as a player. In any case, here we are going to go ahead and jump on into this interview
with none other than the MVP Cant.
哎，是没声音。
大家好，我是演艺系的 Kent。
哎，Kent 今天心脏要很大颗哎。
对啊，就是
Were you-
三四名，四五名的争夺啊。
It was a really high pressure game. He says, yeah, it was a fourth versus fifth game. So yeah,
我真的看不出来谁会获胜哎。
it looked like it wasn't clear who was going to
打
win
到
that.
第二场的时候发现，怎么好像压力转到我们
So
这边来？
on Numbani, it felt like all the pressure was now on our team
快
instead
对，
of
还
Hong
没
Kong
回
Attitude.
神，你知道吗？
不过今天在第一场绿洲城的时候，你的闪光发挥的非常好，刚刚 MVP 也是你的闪光，今天闪光手感还不错嘛。
So your trace was
还不
pretty
错
good
主
today.
要是可能其他闪光是会跟我在侧翼对枪，可是小林可能打的比较团队。
So
所以
I'm
我自己
I'm
的位
losing
置
the
会比较
1v1s.
安心在输出，所以今天打的比较好。
可以比较专心。
对对对。
So it was
哎
good,
那
but I
这时
am
候就要
losing the
问，那你
1v1s.
第二场神庙那个夺命女是怎么回事啊？
Can you tell me about the
其实
Widowmaker?
是那个啊，就是大家都不太相信我夺命女，然后我就找他们出来单挑，结果发现挑出来是我最强，所以就我输了。
所以队上有进行过这个夺命女单挑大赛。
有啊有啊有啊。
So we actually internally had to decide who was the best Widowmaker. It happened to be
就一
me.
般的控制图啊。
然后就是站在远处这样子出，
对。
然后就你直接 GY 大家。
对对对。
可是今
Yeah,
天
we had an
在这
internal
个神
competition
庙
and
表
I
现
won
的
that as the
蛮
best
累的啊，
Widowmaker.
就是他们也防得很好啊，就是
夺命76哎，那个射的实在是。
就是有一个星星跳过来，我要跟队友说，因为我队友在前面，我就直接跟队友说，我死定了。
你知道分
Yeah,
析
as
台
soon
刚
as the
才
team
一口
jumped me
咬
on
定说
Anubis, I
他
knew
一
what I
定
was
是
dead.
在 bait，他是要让星星骗到那个出生口去。我觉得这个借口不错，下次可以用用看。好了，其实神庙还有注意到一个让你们乱了阵脚的，就你们开始压力大的时候，是我发现 HKA 选择攻击方出害影，让你们突然不知道怎么办。你们那时候有乱。
So Mango ran the Sombra
其实
attack.
我们是白是忍者这个位置要换成害影，结果忍者突然说他有刀，然后我们就相信说，那我们就先砍一波再换。结果发现他们的害影就是下面害我们下面的大补包，结果就是我们没办法害回去，所以我们
So
就
we
是直
thought
接换死神。
we would try and
所以换
win
死神
a
是一个
defense without
算是
Sombra
慌乱的决
and
定
then
嘛
rehack the
因为
health
你们
packs,
先
but that
讨
never
论
really
就是
worked out
赶
for
快
us.
临场发挥一下。
就想要随便找一个输
So
出
we kinda
变
gave
出
up-
来
we
然后
kinda
最
gave
后
up
换
the
死神
Sombra after that.
的确是有点危险，因为你们后来 B 点，你们现在30秒可以抢。我那时候想说HK 应该是要赢了。你们当时是用什么策略？因为只剩30秒去抢到 B 点。
因为我们那时候
you
剩下
almost lost
那
in the
个
time bank.
就是忍者的刀，然后我们就决定扣，就是直接从一边去抓大概安娜会站的位置，然后结果打到一半突然被炸掉2个，我们突然那个很紧张。
So they
结
was
果后面还是靠
specifically
蓝
trying
鸟
to target Anna.
突然紧张的时候，那时候你知道肾上腺素才会激发，
I
然
got
后
a
就
little
会
bit
很认真
desperate.
打。在真的今天是替你们捏非常多把冷汗，因为在多拉多的地方，你们是不是为了要想说直接守 A 点，直接赢过他们，赢在 A 点，然后就把大招在 A 点全部都交了？
就是其实我们觉得是卡住，然后结果发现好像，因为我们把最后的希望放在那个奈米忍者，结果他一直被那个
打失败。
对，一直被推走， 然后后来就放掉了，因为没办法，就浪费一代。
可是这样超危险，因为等于说第二段你们是都没有大招的，但 HK 都有。
对啊，就是一个赌注啊。我们想说可以砍6个，
结果
想说当个那个火影，
真的大失败。
对。
可是最后在守住的时候，我看到的是你去抓了 K4。
对，
So
就
you
是
went for K4 at the end of Dorado.
就是我有刀，所以队友说他们要扣右上去抓他们的后排，结果我就跟他说我从另一边，然后结果他们刚刚好就
刚好遇到。
对，手对角，然后就刚好遇到了。
哇，今天真的很辛苦但恭喜你最后还是守住了胜利啦。那希望你们之後繼續加油了。那接下來
So he had Dragon Blade, and he was thinking he could sort of get a few kills at the end there, which was a little bit difficult. So kind of pulled it through. But overall, I mean, it was a hard sort of game for them because they weren't really sure if they want to pull that one through. It kind of really was quite evident, specifically after Numbani. They said themselves, like, what happened? Like, the entire table was flipped over, and even on Anubis, it just sort of came down to the wire, and they felt that pressure as well, and they were entirely caught out by the counter Sombra play. They were entirely went into desperation mode at the end of the time bank and only barely scraped it through.
Yeah, but I suppose it is also the mark of a good team to actually win in those situations where it looks dire, where your back is against the wall, where things have not gone how you expected. But in any case, that is going to be that for the day. First half, of course, was Fireball's night. They picked themselves up a happy pair of wins against Sun Sister and Detonator Gold. Both Detonator Gold then went on to play Flash Wolves and, put simply, got a little bit flattened by the now tied for first place Taiwanese squad. And then, of course, we've just rounded off the night with perhaps our title bout of the night, certainly the most important in terms of the standings. Machi versus Hong Kong Attitude, picking that one up in a somewhat close 3-1, but at the end of the day, gentlemen, can't help but feel that Machi are really just the better looking of those two teams. And here now are the standings as they sit at the end of the day.
And they have been for some time. I think ever since the second round robin, we've kind of said, look, Machi, they look like the better team. And ever since the second round robin, they've been on a streak where they haven't lost to anyone outside of the top 3. And even within the top 3, they've taken at least they took the one win in there. And you've got to think, with Machi still looking better and better, the possibility for them to take further wins against top 3 teams is definitely there too.
Yeah, 4th place, not just on scoreboard, but also in practice very much, like you said, only losing recently to those other teams in the top 3. And now the question remains, can they beat those top 3 teams? Can they make a run for playoffs? Well, we don't know just yet, but we will find out as the rest of this round robin unfolds. And of course, as the 4th round robin also unfolds ahead of us. But that is that for tonight. The death knell has been sounded for Hong Kong Attitude. And the question still remains about Machi. We will see all that and more moving on forward. We have a 4-day weekend coming up with 4 matches each and every day. So, a bit of a marathon ahead of us. Lots of exciting games. That is all going to be coming up tomorrow, same time, same place. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight. And from all of us here at the Full Circle production team, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening.